I don't usually get real mail. Most days, it's just ads or bills. But this letter was different. It was just sitting there on my doorstep when I got home from work. No stamp, no return address. My full name was written on the front, in thick, black ink. I opened it right there in the hallway. The paper was heavy, old, and the handwriting was neat, like someone took their time with it. The letter said, "Dear Mr. Kerrick, we regret to inform you that your brother, Matthew Kerrick, has been declared legally dead. There will be a funeral held in his honor at Rose Hill Rest Mortuary, in the town of Edenridge, though no body was found. This ceremony will give closure to those who cared. You were invited to attend." It was signed by someone named Esrone, a mortician. I froze. My brother had been missing for over 10 years. No one had heard from him. No calls, no messages, nothing. We weren't close. In fact, we had a big fight before he disappeared. I never told anyone what it was about. I tried to forget. I thought maybe he had, but now, a funeral, with no body. I stared at that letter. For a long time, part of me wanted to throw it away, pretend I never saw it, but something inside me said I needed to go. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was something else. I packed a bag that night. The town Edenridge was far, way out in the woods. It wasn't on any of the main roads. I had to follow a map on my phone, but even that kept glitching the closer I got. The drive was quiet, too quiet. No other cars, just trees on both sides. For hours, at one point, I thought I saw someone standing by the road. But when I looked, again, no one was there. That's when I started thinking about the last time I talked to Matt. He called me late one night, years ago. His voice was shaking. He said, "If anything happens to me, don't let them bury me. Promise me." I laughed at him. I thought he was being weird. I never made that promise. And now someone else was having the funeral he didn't want. Maybe. I should have said no. Turned around, gone home, but I didn't. Something was pulling me there, and deep down, I knew, This wasn't going to be a normal funeral. The town of Edenridge didn't look like much. I drove past empty houses, broken windows, and signs that had fallen over. No people, no cars. Just trees and fog everywhere. My GPS said I was close. Then the screen went black. I kept driving until I saw a tall, dark building at the end of a narrow road. There was a small wooden sign out front. It said, "Rose Hill Rest Mortuary." It looked like no one had touched the place in years. I got out of my car. The steps creaked as I walked up. I knocked once. The door opened by itself. Inside, it was too quiet. The air felt heavy, like the kind that makes your ears ring. I stepped into a hallway. Old pictures hung on the walls. People in black clothes, standing by graves. None of them smiled. Then I heard footsteps. Slow, dragging an old man walked out from a side room. He wore a black suit and had thin white hair. His skin looked pale, almost grey. "Mr. Kerrick," he asked, his voice soft and dry. "Yes." I said, "I got your letter." He nodded. "Good. The service will begin soon. Everything is ready." "There's no body?" I asked. He looked me in the eye. "No, but we bury what's missing." "What does that mean?" "You'll see," he said. I followed him into the viewing room. It was small, cold. A closed casket sat in the center. There were a few other people sitting in chairs. I didn't. No, any of them. No one looked at me. No one said a word. I sat in the back. The old man stood at the front and spoke. He didn't say much, just that Matthew Carrick had passed, that his soul needed rest, that this funeral would bring peace. But it didn't feel peaceful. It felt wrong. I kept staring at the casket. It looked too new for this old place. I wondered if anything was inside. Then I felt something, like someone was staring at me. But when I turned around, no one was there. I looked at the others. They weren't crying. They weren't moving. One man blinked, but that was it. I leaned forward and whispered, "Who are these people?" The old man heard me. Somehow, he smiled. "They're here to witness," he said. "To witness what?" I asked. He didn't answer. Then the lights flickered. For a second, I thought I saw a shadow near the casket. It was tall, thin, gone when I blinked. The air felt colder. My chest felt tight, like I couldn't breathe right. I wanted to leave, but I didn't move. The old man stepped to the casket and placed his hand on it. "May the earth take what it is owed," he said. Everyone stood up at the same time. I stood too. I didn't know why. The service was over. No one spoke as they left. No goodbyes, no looks, just silence. The old man turned to me one last time. "Thank you for coming," he said, and then he smiled. But it wasn't a kind smile. It was the kind of smile that made me wish I'd never come. The graveyard was just outside of town. We drove there in a black van. The old man, the morticians, sat in front. I sat in the back with the casket. No one else came with us. The graveyard had no gate, just old, cracked stones sticking out of the dirt. Some didn't have names. Some were just wooden crosses. The hole was already dug. It was deep. Too deep. The mortician stood beside it. He didn't say anything. He just nodded. And two men I hadn't seen before started lowering the casket into the ground. I watched quietly. Then I heard it tap, tap, tap. It came from inside the casket. I looked at the mortician. He didn't react. "Did you hear that?" I asked. He shook his head. "There's nothing to hear. Tap, tap, dot." Again, soft, but clear. "Stop," I said. "Open it. Just check." But the men had already started covering the hole with dirt. I looked around. The trees were too still. No birds, no sound. Just that slow thump of dirt hitting the lid. I didn't speak again. I just watched. When it was over, the mortician placed a small stone on top of the grave. "No name?" I asked. "There's no need," he said. Then he walked away. I stood there for a while, alone. I didn't cry. I just felt cold. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stayed at a small room behind the funeral home. The bed was stiff. The walls were thin. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard that tapping again. Finally, I got up. I took a flashlight and walked back to the graveyard. The road was darker than before. I didn't see any lights, not even stars. When I got to the grave, I stopped. Something was wrong. The dirt looked fresh again, like it had been moved. The ground was soft, too soft, like stepping on a sponge. I knelt down. The top of the grave had sunk in, like something heavy had pushed up from underneath, or like something had crawled out. There was no sign of the casket, just loose dirt and deep, narrow marks in the soil, like something had clawed its way through. I stood up fast. My heart was racing. Then I heard it. Whispers, low, soft, coming from the trees behind me. I turned around, but saw no one. The whispering got louder. Closer, I backed away. My flashlight started to flicker. Then it went out. I didn't wait. I ran. All the way back to the funeral home. I slammed the door shut behind me and locked it. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat on the edge of the bed, waiting, and somewhere outside, I swear I heard it again. Tap, tap, tap. The mortician said I could sleep in a guest room behind the funeral home. It was small, one bed, one window, a lamp with a weak light, no TV, no phone. He gave me a key and said, try to rest. Morning comes fast in Edinburgh. I didn't answer. I locked the door, turned off the lamp, and got into bed. But I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the grave, about how the dirt looked moved, about the missing casket, and the tapping. I closed my eyes anyway. That's when the dream started. At first I was standing in the graveyard again, but it was daytime and everything looked frozen. The trees weren't moving. Even the clouds were still. Then I saw the grave. It was open now. I walked toward it slowly. When I looked inside, I saw my brother, Matt. His face was pale, his eyes wide open, staring up at me. He didn't speak, but I heard his voice. It was in my head. He said, "You left me there." I stepped back. "I didn't know," I said, but he didn't blink. He just kept looking at me. Then the ground began to shake. His hand reached out of the grave. I turned to run and I woke up. My heart was pounding. I sat up and turned on the lamp. Then I heard it scratch, coming from inside the wall, next to the bed. It didn't sound like rats. It was too slow, like fingers. I stood up. My hands were shaking. The sound stopped. I walked to the door, opened it slowly. The hallway was dark. I stepped out. I wanted to check the front room. Maybe I just needed air dot. As I passed the mortician's office, I saw something on the desk. Old photo albums. I don't know why I opened one. I just felt like I had to. Inside were pictures of funerals. Lots of them, black and white, some in color, all taken in this same funeral home. Same walls, same carpet. I flipped through slowly, page after page. Then I stopped. My brother was in one of the pictures. It was him, same face, same jacket he used to wear when we were younger. He was standing next to a grave. The photo was dated just 3 years ago, but he'd been missing for over 10. I stared at it for a long time. Then I noticed something behind him. In the photo, there was a shadow. Not his. Something taller, thinner. Its face wasn't clear, just dark and blurry. I closed the album fast. Then I heard the scratching again, but this time, it was behind me. I turned around. No one was there. I walked back to the room and locked the door again. I sat in the corner and left the light on. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. I just waited, and every so often, I thought I heard a whisper. Near the door, it said the same thing, over and over. "You left me there." I couldn't take it anymore. The dream, the voice, the picture, the scratching. I had to go back to the grave. I waited until early morning. The sky was still dark. I grabbed a flashlight and found an old shovel behind the funeral home. No one saw me, at least I think no one did. I walked to the graveyard. It was quiet, like always, but the kind of quiet that makes your ears hurt. When I got to my brother's grave, I didn't stop. I just started digging. The dirt was loose, too loose, like someone had already been here or something. I dug fast. My hands were shaking. My back hurt. I didn't care. I had to see. I had to know. After a few minutes, the shovel hit something soft. Not wood, not a coffin. I dropped to my knees and brushed the dirt away. It wasn't a body. It was stuff, old stuff. A toy truck my brother used to play with. One of his shoes. A broken picture frame. And bones. Small ones. Maybe animal bones. Maybe not. Then I saw something wrapped in black cloth. I pulled it out, slowly. It was a mirror I unwrapped. It, even though I didn't want to, it was old. Cracked in one corner. I looked into it, and there he was, my brother, standing right behind me. But when I turned around, no one was there. I looked back at the mirror. He was still there. His face was pale. His eyes were dark. His mouth moved like he was trying to talk, but I couldn't hear anything. The air felt thick, like it was pushing down on me. Everything started to blur. The trees, the sky, my own hands. It didn't feel real anymore. I felt like I was falling, but I was still on my knees. Then something clicked in my head. This wasn't a funeral. This was something else. A summoning dot. Or a punishment. Or maybe a trade. I don't know. I don't think I want to know. I wrapped the mirror back in the cloth. My hands were numb. Then I shoved it deep into the hole and covered it with dirt as fast as I could. I didn't look back when I was done. I sat on the grass and tried to breathe, but I couldn't feel the air anymore. It was like the ground was watching me like the dirt knew. After a while, I stood up and walked back to the funeral home. I didn't speak to anyone. I didn't sleep. I just waited for the sun to rise. And in the back of my mind, I kept asking myself, did I stop something? Or did I just let it out? The next morning, everything was wrong. I stepped outside the funeral home, but it looked different. The front door was boarded up. The windows were cracked. The paint was peeling, like no one had been inside for years. I walked down the road. The whole town was empty. No cars, no people, just silence. I ran to the graveyard, but the path was gone. The trees had grown over it, like they were trying to hide something. I pushed through the branches until I got to the place where I had dug. But the grave wasn't there. No. Hole, no stone. Just thick grass and roots, like it had never happened. I stood there, breathing hard. I felt cold all over. Then I left. I got in my car and drove. I didn't look back. When I got home, things still didn't feel right. My apartment was quiet, too quiet. I went to the bathroom, turned on the light, and looked in the mirror. At first, everything looked normal, but then my reflection smiled. I didn't. I stepped back. The smile was gone that night. I heard scratching under the floor, soft, slow scratching, like something was crawling just below me. I didn't sleep in the morning. I found a letter by my door. No stamp, no name, just one line. Thank you for attending. That's when I knew the funeral wasn't for my brother. It was for me. The part of me I left behind in that graveyard. The part that never came back. My apartment has an extra room that isn't on the floor. Plan last year was rough. I broke up with someone I really cared about. I quit my job after months of stress, and someone in my family died. After all that, I just wanted quiet, a place to start over. That's how I found this apartment. It was cheap, old, but not falling apart. The building had 5 floors, but not many people living in it. The landlord said the last person in my unit left suddenly. I didn't ask why. Moved in on a Sunday. It was cloudy, the hallway lights were dim, and the elevator shook a little, but I didn't care. My apartment was on the 3rd floor. 1 bedroom, 1 bath, small kitchen. It looked fine. Nothing fancy, but it felt private. That's what I needed. The first few days were normal. I unpacked, I cleaned. I put my bed near the window and set up my desk in the corner. But something felt off. One wall in the hallway near the kitchen looked too wide, like it was thicker than it should be. I knocked on it a few times. It sounded hollow in the middle, but not on the sides. I told myself it was just bad design. Old buildings are like that. A few times, when I walked across the living room, my footsteps echoed just in one spot. Nowhere else. Weird, but not scary, at least, not yet. A few nights later, I found the original floor plan online. I was just curious how old the place was. That's when I noticed something strange. My apartment was supposed to be 620 square feet, but when I measured the rooms myself, it only added up to around 580. Where was the missing space? I thought maybe I measured wrong. So I did it again. Same result, 40 square feet missing. That's the size of a small room. A room that doesn't exist, or maybe a room that's hidden. I didn't tell anyone. I just shut my laptop and went to bed. But I didn't sleep well that night. And in the dark, I kept thinking about that thick wall. The one that sounded hollow, like it was hiding something. It started with the bookshelf. One night, I decided to move some furniture around. I thought maybe a change would help me sleep better. When I pulled the bookshelf away from the wall, I noticed something strange. There were lines in the wall, not crack seams, thin, straight, and too perfect. I ran my fingers over them. It felt like a door, but I had never seen it before. There was no handle, just a small dent, like a place to press with your thumb. I stared at it for a while. Then I said out loud, "Nope, not doing this." I pushed the bookshelf back, or tried to, but I kept thinking about that missing space, that thick wall, that echo in the floor. So a few minutes later, I moved the bookshelf again. The seams were still there. I pressed the dent with my thumb. There was a soft click, and the wall opened, not all the way to crack, but enough to see what was behind it. There was a hallway, a narrow, pitch-black hallway. No lights, no windows. The air coming out felt cold, not like air conditioning, cold like a freezer. It smelled strange, like metal and something sweet, almost like fruit, but rotten. I leaned forward. There was no sound, no movement, just blackness. I whispered, "Hello." Nothing answered. I should have shut the door right then. I should have pushed the bookshelf back and walked away, but I stepped a little closer. The floor was smooth. The walls were clean, too clean. This wasn't a storage room, and it didn't feel like it was part of the building. I don't know how long. I stood there. Something about the hallway felt wrong, like it was watching me then, far down the hallway. I thought I saw something move, just for a second. That was enough. I slammed the door shut. It clicked back into place flush, with the wall like it had never been open. I stood there, breathing hard. Then I pushed the bookshelf back in front of it. This time, I made sure it was tight against the wall. I told myself it was just a weird old utility closet, a space the builders forgot. Some apartments have that, right? But I knew better. I felt it. That hallway wasn't just hidden. It wasn't supposed to be found. And whatever was in there, it didn't want me to leave. After I found that door, things started to get weird at first. It was small stuff. A cup I left on the table would be in the sink. My keys would move from the shelf to the floor. I thought maybe I was tired, forgetting things, but it kept happening. Then one morning, I walked into the living room, and the bookshelf was pushed out, not by much, just a few inches, but enough to see the edge of that hidden door again. I didn't move it. I know I didn't. I'd pushed it back into place and told myself I was dreaming. But the next day, same thing. Bookshelf moved, door showing like it wanted to be found again. I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed a flashlight, pushed the shelf aside, and pressed the dent on the wall. Click. The door opened. The hallway was just as dark and narrow as before. I stepped in. The air felt colder than last time. The smell was still there, metal and rot. I walked slowly. My shoes made soft taps on the floor. The hallway was longer than it looked from outside. Way longer at the end. There was a room. A small room, plain white walls, a wooden chair in the middle, and a mirror nailed to the far wall. That was it. I stepped inside. The second I did, I felt it, like eyes were on me. Not just one set, many, but the room was empty. I looked at the mirror. It showed me standing alone, just like I was, but something was wrong. My reflection was slow. I raised my hand. The reflection followed, but a second later, I stepped to the side. It copied me late again. I stared at it, and for a second, I thought I saw something else behind me in the glass. A shape, tall, still watching. I spun around, nothing. The chair hadn't moved. The walls were bare, but I felt it. Something was there. Watching from somewhere I couldn't see, I turned back to the mirror. My reflection was smiling. I wasn't. That was enough. I backed out of the room, turned down the hallway, and didn't look back. When I got back into my apartment, I slammed the hidden door shut and pushed the shelf back into place hard. I stood there, breathing heavy. Then I stopped. I stared at the bookshelf. The bottom corner was sticking out again, just a little, and I swear, the chair in that room had turned, just a few inches, facing the mirror, or maybe facing me. After I found the room with the mirror, things got worse. I started having strange dreams. In one, I was standing in my bathroom, staring into the mirror, but I couldn't move. My arms felt heavy. My feet were stuck to the floor. In the mirror, I saw someone behind me. They looked like me, but not exactly. They were smiling. I woke up, gasping, heart racing, soaked in sweat. That same day, I went into the bathroom to brush my teeth. I looked in the mirror, and something felt off. I moved my hand. The reflection moved, but not at the same time. It was just a second behind. But I knew what I saw. It happened again later that night. I waved my hand quickly. The mirror caught up, but there was a delay. A small glitch, like a video that lags for a moment. Then the reflection smiled at me again. I wasn't smiling. I turned and walked out. After that, I stopped using the mirror as much as I could, but I still felt watched, not just in the bathroom, in the hallway, in my bedroom, even when my eyes were closed. One afternoon, I decided to check the walls. I don't know why. Something told me to. I tapped around the apartment until I found a soft spot in the bedroom closet. I pulled back the paneling. Behind it, I found a box. Inside were old clothes covered in dust, a toothbrush, a notebook. It looked like someone had been living here a long time ago and hiding things. I sat on the floor and opened the notebook. Most of it didn't make sense, just random words, scribbles, messy drawings. But one sentence was written clearly, over and over. Don't look at it too long. It wants to be real. I read that line maybe 10 times. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I passed a mirror, I looked away, and every time I saw my reflection, I felt like it was waiting. I couldn't take it anymore. I hadn't slept in 2 nights. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the mirror and the thing inside it. So I got up, quietly. It was past midnight. I grabbed my flashlight and walked to the bookshelf. I didn't even hesitate this time. I moved it aside, pressed the wall, and heard the click. The door opened. The hallway was colder than ever, but I walked in. I didn't stop until I reached the room. The chair was still there. So was the mirror. Only now, the chair was facing the mirror straight on. I stood in the doorway and stared. Then I walked in and sat in the chair. The mirror showed me, but something wasn't right. I wasn't moving, but my reflection was. It stood up while I stayed seated. Then it smiled. I didn't. It stepped closer to the glass. Then it opened its mouth and started to talk. But I didn't hear the words in my ears. I heard them in my head. You remember, don't you? I shook my head. No, I whispered. You lied. You let it happen. The voice sounded like mine, but deeper, sadder, almost angry. You said nothing, and now you hide. I stood up. Stop. The reflection smiled again, not friendly, like it knew everything. About me, it stepped even closer to the mirror. Then it said something I hadn't told anyone. Something I did when I was a kid. Something I still feel ashamed of. I covered my ears. Stopped talking, but I still heard it. I backed away. Then the reflection lifted its hand. It pressed it against the glass, and I felt it on my shoulder. A cold hand real. I ran. I didn't look back. I flew down the hallway, through the hidden door, and slammed the bookshelf into place. I fell to the floor, breathing fast. Then I looked around my apartment. Something felt different, like the walls were taller, the colors were wrong, dim, faded. The air was still. Too still, it didn't feel like my place anymore. It felt like someone else lived here, and maybe ... maybe that someone was me, but not the me I wanted to be. The next morning, I tried to call the landlord. The number didn't work, just a long beep, then silence. I knocked on my neighbor's door. No answer. I tried another. Same thing. The whole building felt empty. Too empty. I went online to check the rental listing. I wanted to see if anyone had said something, maybe a review, maybe a warning. But what I found ... it made my stomach drop. The apartment I'm living in, it's listed as vacant. For the last 4 years, there were pictures, same layout, same floor, but no secret door, no extra room, no hallway, just flat wall where the door should be. I stared at the screen, shaking. Then I heard footsteps in the hallway, slow, heavy. I stood up, walked to the mirror in the bathroom, and looked, but I wasn't there. The mirror was empty, just the room behind me. No reflection. No me. Then I heard it. A knock. But not on my front door. From inside the wall, right behind the bookshelf. Another knock. Then a whisper. I couldn't tell what it said, but it sounded ... familiar. Like my voice, but not mine. I backed away slowly, and, for the first time since I moved in, I said it out loud. I don't think I'm the one living here anymore. But not all stories truly end. Some fear never goes away. Here's the next one. The baby monitor picked up breathing, but I don't have a baby. I moved into this house a few weeks ago. It's small, kind of old, and way too quiet. I found it cheap online after everything fell apart. I don't really want to talk about that. I just needed a place to be alone. Somewhere no one would bother me. The house smelled like dust when I got here. The floor creaked, the walls made little ticking sounds, and the upstairs hallway felt colder than the rest of the place. I told myself it was just the way old houses are. I started unpacking right away. Most of my stuff came in boxes. Nothing special. Clothes, dishes, old books. But the weird thing was, not all the stuff in the house was mine. The landlord said the last people moved out fast. They left behind some furniture, a small couch, a lamp that flickered when I turned it on, and a broken rocking chair in the corner of the living room. I should have thrown it all out, but I didn't. I don't know why. Maybe I felt bad for the chair. Maybe I just didn't care anymore. Then, while cleaning out the hallway closet, I found it. A baby monitor. It was tucked behind a box of old newspapers. The kind with a screen and a little antenna. White plastic, scratched on the side, at first. I laughed. I don't even have a kid, I said out loud. I held it up, turning it in my hands. It looked cheap, useless. I almost tossed it in the trash, but something made me stop. I don't know what. Maybe I was just bored, or maybe it felt like it belonged here, like the chair and the rest of the things no one wanted. So I kept it. I plugged it in on the shelf near my bed, just to see if it worked. The screen stayed black. The speaker made a soft static noise, like a quiet she-dot. That night, I went to bed with the monitor still on, just static, nothing else. I fell asleep with it humming in the background. It was the first night I didn't dream. That night, I stayed up late. I had boxes all over the floor, and I couldn't sleep. I was tired, but my mind wouldn't shut up, so I started unpacking, just something to do. Around midnight, I saw the baby monitor on the shelf. I had plugged it in earlier, just for fun. It still made that soft, static sound, just noise. I picked it up and stared at it. Let's see if this thing even works, I said. I turned the volume up. Static got louder. Still nothing. No picture, no sound. I sat it on the nightstand and kept folding clothes. 10 minutes passed, maybe 15. Then I heard something. It was small, quiet, like a breath. Just one, right in the middle of the static HH, HHH, H, 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 H. I froze. I looked at the monitor. Static again. Nothing else. I waited. Another breath. Heish. Soft. Slow. Not a voice. Not a word. Just breathing. I stood up. My whole body felt stiff. I turned and looked around the room. Nothing. I opened the closet. Empty. Okay, I said, trying to laugh. It's just some kind of signal. Maybe it's picking up someone else's monitor. But then I remembered I don't have neighbors close by. The houses on this street are all kinda spread out, and none of them have babies. I checked the window, dark outside, no lights, no cars. I picked up the monitor and moved it to the hallway, held it out. The breathing stopped, just static again. I took a deep breath and carried it back to my room, set it back down. I waited, nothing, just when I was about to turn it off, heish, I jumped. This time it sounded closer. I turned the monitor off. The static cut out silence. I stood there in the quiet, holding it in both hands, staring at the black screen. I checked every room, the bathroom, the kitchen, even the attic door. Nothing, no one. I told myself it was old tech, just acting weird. Didn't turn it back on that night, but I kept thinking about it. That soft breath, like someone was trying not to be heard. After that first night, I didn't touch the monitor again. I told myself it was just noise, a glitch, some weird radio signal, but I still kept it plugged in. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted to prove it was nothing. 2 nights later, it turned on by itself. I was lying in bed, lights off, trying to fall asleep. Then I heard it click. Then, static, the baby monitor. I sat up fast. I hadn't touched it. I hadn't even looked at it all day. I leaned closer, just static, then heish. The breathing again. But this time it was longer, heavier, like someone was standing close to the mic. Just breathing, slow and deep. Then I heard something else. Gee, it was faint, but it sounded like cooing, like a baby. I grabbed the monitor and turned it off. I didn't sleep that night. I left all the lights on and sat up in bed until the sun came through the window. The next day, I tried to be normal. I cleaned the kitchen, made toast, tried to watch TV, but I kept thinking about that sound. The baby noise. I don't have a baby. I don't know anyone with a baby. That night, I stayed up with my phone recording. I put the monitor on the nightstand again and hit record on the voice app, just in case. I listened to the recording the next morning. I heard static, and then heish, same as before. The long, slow breathing, and then a sound that made my chest tighten. A soft little laugh. Just one dot, like a baby. I dropped my phone. I told myself, it's a signal. Someone nearby has a baby monitor too. That's all, but it only turns on when I'm alone. I tried testing it. I invited my friend, Mark, over to hang out. He stayed until midnight. I left the monitor on the whole time. Nothing happened, no static, no breathing. As soon as he left and I locked the door, I heard it again, click, then breathing. It's like, whatever it is, it doesn't want other people around, only me. Now I sleep less and less. I check the monitor every hour. Sometimes I record, sometimes I just stare at it. I don't know what I'm looking for. Last night, the monitor turned on while I was in the bathroom brushing my teeth. I heard it from the hallway, static. I walked back into my room. The monitor was glowing, breathing, cooing, then nothing. I turned it off and just stood there, staring at the wall. I'm tired. I feel like I'm falling apart. But every time I think about throwing it away, I get this feeling, like something's waiting. I started hearing the breathing outside of the bedroom. One night, I was walking down the upstairs hallway. The baby monitor was in my hand. It was on, and the static was low. I wasn't even thinking about it, just heading to the bathroom. Then I heard it heish. One breath, I stopped. The sound had matched my steps. I took one more step. Heish, another. Breath, right after my foot hit the floor. I stood still. My heart started pounding. I didn't move for a full minute. The monitor just hummed with quiet static. Then I took one slow step back. Heish. It wasn't copying me. It was following. I turned and walked fast to my room. I slammed the door and held the monitor close to my chest, like it would protect me. I didn't sleep that night. The next few days, I stayed downstairs. I barely ate. I didn't answer my phone. The upstairs just felt wrong. The air was colder. Up there, like something was sitting in the walls. Then, one night, I heard a noise above me, thump, right above my head, the attic. I grabbed a flashlight and walked upstairs. I didn't want to, but something made me go. The monitor was already in my hand. It turned itself on as I reached the top step. Click. Then I heard it again, that slow, heavy breathing. But now it was louder, closer. I stared at the attic door. It was one of those square ones in the ceiling, with a string hanging down, and the string was swinging. No wind, no shaking. It just moved, like someone had pulled it a second ago. Then the door opened on its own. Cree. AAAK. I just stood there. I don't even remember deciding to go up. My body moved like it wasn't mine. I climbed the small wooden ladder into the attic. It was dark, dusty. My flashlight cut through the air. There wasn't much up there. A box of books, a broken chair, and something hanging from one of the beams. It was a baby mobile. The kind that spins above a crib. Tiny stars and moons. It wasn't spinning, it was just swaying, slowly. I stepped closer. That's when I saw the name written on the far wall. Faded letters. Almost gone, Elliot. The moment I read it, the baby. Monitor screamed loud, high-pitched, static, like a TV turning to max volume all at once. I dropped it, my ears rang. The flashlight slipped from my hand and hit the floor. Everything went dark. Then silence. The monitor was off. The sound was gone. But I swear, right before everything went quiet, I heard a voice, very soft, just one word, mine. It's not just breathing anymore. Now it talks. The first time I heard it, I thought I was dreaming. I had the monitor beside me again. I wasn't even recording that night. I was too tired. I was half asleep when I heard it. A voice, very soft. It whispered, "Come back." I opened my eyes. I didn't move, just stared at the ceiling. Then it said it again. "Come back." I sat up fast. The monitor screen was dark, but the static was low. Humming. Then it said something else. "Don't leave me." My chest felt tight, like I couldn't breathe. I turned the monitor off. I sat there in the dark for a long time, just staring at nothing. The next night, I turned it back on. I don't know why. Nothing happened at first, just the usual hum. Then, around 3 a.m., the voice came back. "Hello." It sounded like a little boy, maybe 5 or 6 years old. Soft, shaky. "Are you still there?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. My throat felt frozen. Then he said my name. He said it just once. I never told it my name. No one did. I wanted to turn it off again, but I didn't. I just sat there, listening. I think part of me wanted to believe it was real, that it was a ghost, something lost, something I could help. But another part of me wondered if I was just going crazy. Maybe I was hearing things, I hadn't talked to anyone in days. I stopped answering texts. I barely slept. The voice kept coming back. Not every night, just sometimes. Come upstairs. It's cold. I'm scared. Stay. It never screamed. It never cried. It just sounded sad, lonely. I started keeping the monitor on all night. I stopped recording. I didn't care anymore. I just listened. Sometimes I talked back. I'd whisper things like, "Who are you? What do you want?" But it never answered those. One night I asked, "Are you real?" And it said, "I don't know." I felt something break inside me when I heard that. I don't know why. Now I don't even check the rest of the house. I just stay near the monitor. Sometimes it says my name real quiet, like it doesn't want to scare me. And the worst part is, I think I'm starting to feel better when I hear it. Like I'm not alone anymore. I leave the monitor on now. Every night, I don't check the windows. I don't lock the doors. I just sit in the dark, in my room, and listen. Sometimes he breathes. Sometimes he talks. Most nights, he just whispers things I've heard before. Don't leave. Stay. I missed you. It doesn't scare me anymore. I don't go out much. I don't answer calls. I think people stopped trying, but I don't feel lonely now. Not really. When I wake up, I check the monitor. Still there. Still breathing. Sometimes I whisper back. I don't even know what I say, just quiet words. Just so he knows I'm here. Last night was different. I was half asleep. The monitor was on. Static, low, like always. Then I heard his voice, soft, calm. "Are you still there?" I said. "Yes." Then, another voice, lower, older. A man's voice. It came through the monitor. Quiet and slow. "Now we're all together again." I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just sat there, holding the monitor, listening. And for some reason, I felt okay, like I was home. Story 3. Something keeps rearranging my books at night. I moved into the house 3 weeks ago. It was a small place, old and quiet. That's why I picked it. I used to live in the city, but it was too loud, too busy. I couldn't think. I couldn't sleep. I just wanted peace. This house sat at the edge of town, near some empty fields. No neighbors, no cars, no noise, just silence. The landlord said it used to belong to an old man who died last year. His family didn't want the place, so they put it up for rent. It was cheap. I didn't ask many questions. Most of the house was empty when I moved in, except for the built-in bookshelf in the study. It was full of old books, dusty hardcovers, all different kinds. Some of the titles I recognized, some I didn't. I thought about taking the books out and putting mine in, but I didn't. Something about them made me feel ... weird, like they belonged there, like moving them would be wrong. I unpacked my boxes slowly. I didn't bring much, just clothes, my own books, a mattress, and a desk. I set up the study first. That room felt the most comfortable. The window looked out at nothing but trees. I liked that the study had a heavy wooden door with an old lock. I started locking it at night, not because I was scared, just out of habit. I always lock doors. I like feeling in control. The first night was quiet. I lay on the mattress in the living room and listened to the stillness. No sirens, no shouting, no cars, just quiet. It was almost too quiet. I got up once to check the windows. All closed, nothing outside. I tried to read one of my books before sleeping, but my eyes kept going to the study door. Just sitting there, shut, locked. I didn't know why it made me feel strange. It was just a door. Before I fell asleep, I told myself, "You're just not used to this kind of quiet." And that was true, still, I remember thinking, right before I drifted off, that the bookshelf in that room felt like it had been waiting. Not for me, exactly, but for someone who reads. A few days after I moved in, I noticed something strange. It was a Thursday morning. I walked into the study like I always did. I sit in there every day, read for a few hours, write in my notebook, just enjoy the quiet. But this time, one of the books was on the floor. It was open, face down, like someone had dropped it. I picked it up. It was one of the old books from the shelf, the House of Leaves, or something like that. I hadn't touched it before. I thought, maybe I knocked it over by accident. I put it back and didn't think too much about it. But 2 days later, it happened again. This time, it was a different book. The yellow wallpaper. I know for sure I hadn't moved that one. It was on the floor near my chair, open to the middle, like someone had been reading it and set it down. That's when I started to feel weird. I always lock the study door when I leave, always. I even check the lock before going to bed. There's only one key, and it's always with me. So how did the book get there? Maybe I forgot. Maybe I left the door open without realizing it. That's what I told myself. Still, I felt something was off. I started paying more attention. Every morning, before I sat down, I checked the bookshelf. I started counting the books on each row, just in my head. There were 7 on the top shelf, 12 on the next. I wanted to be sure I wasn't imagining things one night before bed. I stood in the hallway and stared at the locked study door. I said out loud, "I know I locked you." The next morning, another book was out. The Turn of the Screw this time. I hadn't even seen that one before. It was open on my desk. That really shook me. I looked around the room. Nothing else was touched. Just the book. I checked the window still locked. The door still locked. I sat down in the chair and stared at the shelf. I wasn't scared, not yet, but something didn't feel right. It felt like someone had been in the room, like someone had picked that book on purpose, like they wanted me to read it. The air felt heavy, even though it wasn't hot. And for the first time, I felt like the study wasn't empty when I was in it. It felt like something was watching me. I left the room and didn't go back in until the next day. After the third book showed up on my desk, I decided to keep track of the bookshelf. I took a photo of each shelf with my phone, just quick shots. I didn't want to forget where things were. The next morning, I checked the photos. Then I looked at the bookshelf. Something had changed. 3 books had moved to the bottom shelf. I looked at the photo again. In the picture, those books were on the second shelf. Now they were at the bottom, lined up neatly, side by side. The weird part, all 3 books were by the same author. That's when I got a strange feeling in my chest, like a cold bubble sitting just under my ribs. I didn't move those books. I knew that, and the study door had been locked all night. Still, I told myself maybe I was just tired. Maybe I moved them and forgot. But I knew I didn't, so I kept watching. Every night before bed, I took a new photo of the shelf. Every morning I compared it, and every day something small had changed. Sometimes one book would be upside down. Sometimes a row looked crooked, like one or two books had been pulled out a little. One time, a bookmark was in a book I hadn't touched. I opened it. The page was blank. The bookmark was just a torn piece of paper. No writing on it, just ripped at the edge, like someone tore it fast. Another time, I found a book placed backward. The pages faced out, the spine hidden. I checked the photos again and again. This wasn't random. There was a pattern. Some rows were being sorted alphabetically, others by color, a few by size, but only part of each shelf. The rest looked messy, like it was still being worked on. It was like someone or something was organizing it in steps. Slowly, bit by bit, at night, I started hearing sounds, soft ones, a page turning, a tap, then nothing, a creak, like the floorboards. In the study, the first time I heard it, I sat up in bed and held my breath. Then it stopped. The next night, I stayed awake and listened. Around 2 a.m., I heard it again. A faint rustling sound, like fingers brushing paper. I got out of bed, walked to the hallway, and stood in front of the study door. I didn't open it. I just stood there. No sound now, just stillness. I leaned in and whispered, "Is someone in there?" Nothing. I backed away and went to bed, but I didn't sleep much. The next morning, more books had moved. One had a folded paper sticking out. I opened it. Inside was a note I didn't write. It said, "You're almost reading it right." That's when I knew. This wasn't just random. Someone or something was trying to tell me something. Through the books. After I found the note in the book, I couldn't stop thinking about it. You're almost reading it right. What did that mean? Who wrote it? Why? I started staying up later. I sat on the couch with the study door in full view. I didn't turn on the TV. I just watched the door. For hours, nothing happened. Then I'd go to bed around 3 or 4 in the morning. I'd sleep for a few hours, wake up tired, and check the bookshelf. Every day, something new had moved. A book changed spots. A new one was open. Once, there were 2 books stacked on the floor like someone had been using them as a stool. I started reading the books that were left out. They were old stories, some fiction, some not. But the strange thing was, some parts felt familiar. One book talked about a man moving to a quiet house to escape the city. Another described a locked study that seemed to change at night. One story even had a sentence that said, "He hears the pages turn at 2:14 a.m. That line made my skin crawl. I looked back at the photos on my phone, trying to match the order of the books with the changes in the stories. It didn't make sense, but it also felt like it almost did. I wasn't just confused anymore. I was hooked. I stopped leaving the house. I didn't eat much. I just kept reading and watching and listening. I bought a cheap camera and set it up in the study. I pointed it right at the bookshelf and pressed record before bed. I locked the door like always and went to sleep. The next morning, I checked the video. At first, it looked normal. The room was empty. Nothing moved. But when it hit 2:13 a.m., the screen glitched, static, blackness. It stayed like that until 2:19 a.m. Then the video came back. When I paused it, I saw the books were in different places. Some turned, some stacked, some open. It happened again the next night, and again. 2:13 to 2:19. Always the same gap. I even bought a second camera, put it in a different corner of the study. Same thing, blank from 2:13 to 2:19. That time, one of the books had a line underlined in red ink. It said, "You're reading the wrong way." I didn't know what to do. I was scared, but I couldn't stop. I felt like if I just understood the pattern, I could figure it out. Like someone was trying to show me something important, or maybe warn me. I stopped sleeping at night. I started writing things down, notes, dates, book titles, page numbers. But the more I looked, the more confused I got. And every night, during that 6-minute blackout, something kept working on the shelf. Like it knew I was watching. Like it wanted me to. See, but only when it was ready. I wanted answers. No more notes. No more guessing. I needed to see it with my own eyes, so I waited in the study. It was just after 1:45 a.m. I turned off the light, sat in the chair near the shelf, and didn't move. I kept the camera running, but I didn't care about the video anymore. I just wanted to know what was going on. The room felt strange, not just quiet wrong. Heavy. By 2 a.m. it was cold, but not like a normal cold. It felt like the air was being pulled out of the room. I sat still, holding my breath, watching the bookshelf. Then, at 2:14, something happened. One of the books slid out, slowly. I didn't touch it. It just moved. Another one shifted on the top shelf. Then, another. Pages flipped open like someone was turning them. But I didn't hear anything, no footsteps, no sounds. It was almost silent. I stood up, heart racing. That's when I saw it. Something stood by the bookshelf. At first, I thought it was just a shadow, but it moved. Its arm reached out and placed a book on the second shelf. I froze. It looked like a person, but not all the way. The shape was soft around the edges, like smoke or fog. Couldn't see a face, just a head, shoulders, arms, moving slowly, calmly, like it had done this before. I whispered, "Who are you?" The figure stopped. It didn't answer. It just turned toward me. That's when I saw the face. It looked like me, but older. Pale eyes, sunken, skin tired, like it hadn't slept in years. Its mouth didn't move, but its eyes locked onto mine. They looked ... sad ... I couldn't breathe. My legs felt weak. My whole body was shaking. It tilted its head like it was studying me. I said, "What do you want?" Still no sound. Then it raised one finger and pointed to the shelf. A book slid out on its own and landed at my feet. I looked down at it, and when I looked back, up it was gone, just like that. The cold air was gone too. The room felt normal again. I picked up the book. My hands were shaking so much, I almost dropped it. It was a journal, old, thick, no title, just a cracked leather cover. I opened it. The first page was blank. The second page had a name written in small, shaky letters, my name. That's all I remember. My head spun, the floor tilted. I passed out. When I woke up, it was morning. The book was still in my lap. The camera was off. The bookshelf looked different again, but this time, ... It looked finished. I woke up on the floor. My back hurt. My head was pounding. For a second, I didn't know where I was. Then I saw the bookshelf. It looked ... perfect. Every book was straight, lined up, sorted, clean. It looked like a library shelf. Not a single book out of place. I sat up and saw the camera. It was on the floor, cracked. The lens was broken like someone had stepped on it. I picked it up anyway, but it was dead. Nothing worked. All the videos were gone. I looked back at the shelf. Something was different. I pulled out one of the books, a small one. I opened it tanned. There was a note inside. Just a piece of paper. It had my handwriting on it, but I never wrote it. The note said, he watched, he saw, he forgot. I pulled another book. Another note. The door was always open. Then another. You asked. We answered. My hands were shaking. Every single book had a note inside. Every single one, and all of them were written in my handwriting. But I didn't remember writing any of them. I checked 10, 20, 30 books. All of them had messages. Some short, some long. One had an entire paragraph. It described what happened the night before. The dark figure, the books moving, the cold air. My words, my thoughts, exactly word for word. I dropped the book and stepped back. Something was wrong with me. I knew it. I started feeling different. Not sick, but not normal. I didn't want to touch the books anymore. I didn't even want to look at them. I left the study and locked the door. Then I pushed a chair in front of it. That was a week ago. I haven't gone back in since. I've tried to forget, but I can't. Not really. Sometimes I hear the sound of pages turning at night. Sometimes I dream about the figure standing by the shelf. Sometimes I look in the mirror and I don't know if it's really me looking back. Something followed me out of that room, or maybe I never left. Next, I found a recording of myself sleeping. But I live alone. I don't sleep well anymore. It started about 2 weeks ago. I'd go to bed at the same time every night, but I kept waking up around 3 in the morning. No loud noise, no bad dream. I'd just open my eyes and stare at the ceiling, wide awake. My heart would be beating fast, like I'd been running, but I didn't remember why. At first, I thought it was stress, or maybe too much coffee. But the weird part was, every time I woke up, I felt watched. I live alone, no pets, no roommates, just me, in a small apartment on the 3rd floor. I've lived here for over a year. It's always been quiet, safe, but lately, the silence feels heavy, like there's something hiding inside it. A few nights ago, I woke up again, same time, 3:12 a.m. I sat up and looked around. Nothing, just the shadows. My door was closed. The windows were locked. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had been in the room and left just before I opened my eyes. That's when I got the idea. I have this old voice recorder on my shelf. I used to use it for work, just to record meetings. I decided to try something. I'd set it on my nightstand and press record before bed. I wanted to see if I talked in my sleep or made weird noises. Maybe I was waking myself up and just didn't know it. That night, I brushed my teeth, got into bed, and hit the red button. I even said out loud, "Recording now," just so I'd know when it started. Then I turned off the light. It was hard to fall asleep. My brain wouldn't stop spinning. I kept thinking about the recorder, like maybe it would catch something I didn't want to hear, but eventually I drifted off. I woke up at 3:17. Again, I didn't hear anything, didn't see anything, but I felt something, like the air had changed. I sat still in bed for a minute, barely breathing. Then I looked over. At the recorder, the red light was still blinking. It had been recording the whole time. I didn't listen to it right away. I waited until the morning. I don't know why. Maybe I was scared of what I might hear. I told myself it was nothing, just silence. But deep down, I already knew something had happened while I was sleeping, and I was about to hear it the next morning. I sat on the edge of my bed and looked at the recorder. The red light wasn't blinking anymore. It had stopped during the night, like it was supposed to. I picked it up and saw the file was saved. I sat there for a second, just holding it. Part of me didn't want to hear it, but I pressed play. The first part was nothing, just silence. I heard my sheets move a few times. Maybe I turned in my sleep. A soft sigh, then more silence. I was starting to feel silly, like I had made a big deal out of nothing. But then, the timestamp on the screen changed. 3:17 a.m. That's when I heard it. A soft sound. At first I thought it was breathing, but it didn't sound like mine. It was fast and shaky, almost like someone trying to stay quiet, but not doing a good job. Then I heard the whisper. Not one word, not a sentence. Just this low, dry voice saying something I couldn't understand, like a broken mumble. It didn't sound like me. I replayed it twice, still couldn't make it out. It went on for about a minute, just whispers, no movement, no other noise, just that voice, talking to itself in the dark. I paused the recording. I looked around my room, even though I knew no one was there. Then I hit play again, skipped to 3:17, and listened with my eyes closed. Was it me? I tried to tell myself it was. Maybe I was just sleep-talking. Maybe I'd whispered something from a dream. That can happen, right? But there was something wrong with the sound. It was too close to the mic, like someone was leaning right over. The recorder, when they spoke, I sleep on the left side of the bed. The recorder was on the right, near the edge. For the voice to be that loud, I would have had to be almost off the bed. I checked my pillow. It was right where I left it. I got up and tried to copy the sound. I whispered the same way, same place. Then I played it back. It didn't match. Not even close. I didn't tell anyone. What would I say? That I caught myself whispering like a stranger at 3 in the morning. I saved the file, gave it a name, night1_3:17 a.m., and left it on my laptop. That night, I set the recorder out again. This time, I didn't speak before bed. I just pressed record, turned off the light, and lay down. I didn't want to hear my own voice again, but I had to know if it would happen twice. I kept recording every night. I didn't always listen right away. Some mornings I'd just save the file and go to work. I told myself I'd check later, but the truth is, I didn't want to hear them. The whispers, they came back every night. Always around 3:17 a.m. Sometimes earlier, sometimes later. But they always came at first. They were soft, muffled, but then they started to change. They got louder and ... wrong. One night, it didn't sound like a person anymore. The voice was lower, rough, like it had gravel in its throat. And the words Svif, they were even words didn't sound like any language. I knew it didn't sound human. I started hearing other sounds too. A creak, not like the bed creaking, like the floor, wood shifting under weight, just once or twice, but always during the whispers. That's when it hit me. I live on the top floor. There's no one above me, and I live alone, so ... Who's walking? I checked the hallway, my windows, my locks. Everything was fine. The doors were still locked. Nothing was broken. Nothing was moved. But the sounds were real. I played them for a friend. I didn't say where they were from. Asked, "What do you hear?" He listened and said, "Sounds like someone pacing." Then he laughed. "What is this? A ghost tape?" I laughed too, but I didn't think it was funny that night. I sat on my bed and stared at the recorder. It wasn't enough anymore. I needed to see. So I pulled out an old phone I don't use anymore and set it up across the room. I leaned it against a stack of books so it had a clear view of my bed. Then I hit record. I didn't say anything this time. I just lay down, pulled the blanket over me, and stared at the ceiling. I didn't sleep for a long time. I kept thinking about the sound of someone walking, about that voice. I wanted to believe I'd made it all up. Maybe I was sleepwalking. Maybe I was talking in my sleep. Maybe the building just made weird noises. Maybe when I finally closed my eyes, I kept them shut tight. I don't remember falling asleep, but I remember waking up. I looked at the clock, 3:17 a.m. Of course, I didn't move. I just lay there. I didn't hear anything this time. No whispers, no steps. Just a strange feeling, like the room wasn't empty. In the morning, I checked the phone. The battery had died a few minutes after 4 a.m., but it had recorded everything. Before that, I didn't press play. Not yet. I stared at the screen for a while. My finger hovered over the button, then I closed the phone and set it down. I needed time, because if the recorder caught that much, what was the camera going to show? What if it was worse? What if I wasn't really alone? The next morning, I didn't touch the phone right away. I got up, brushed my teeth, made coffee. I tried to act normal, but my eyes kept going back to the table. The phone was sitting there, waiting. I finally picked it up and opened the gallery. The video file was there, just over 5 hours long, time-stamped from 10:46 p.m. to 4:03 a.m. The battery must have died sometime after. I sat down on the couch, turned the volume up, and pressed play. The video showed my room, just like I set it. You could see the bed, the nightstand, and part of the door in the corner. At first, nothing happened. I just lay there under the blanket, not moving much. I watched for a while. Nothing. Fast, dash-forwarded. Still nothing. Hours went by. Just me sleeping. Then I saw the clock on the screen change. 3:17 a.m. the moment it hit. The video, glitched, just for a second. The screen flickered and froze, like something pulled at the file butt. Then it came back. I leaned forward. That's when I saw it. Something moved. It came in from the right side of the screen. Slow. Just a shape at first. A shadow. It didn't make a sound. No footsteps. It was tall, thin. It didn't walk like a person. It sort of glided. It stopped at the foot of my bed. I paused the video. I sat there for a long time, staring at the shape. Then I hit play again. The thing just stood there, watching me. I didn't move. I was still asleep. I had no idea it was there. It stood over me for about a minute. Then it turned and looked straight at the camera. It didn't have a face, just skin, pale and stretched, like it was too tight. Where? The eyes should have been just dark, empty holes. Then it leaned forward, right up close to the lens. It didn't touch the camera, didn't speak, just stared, like it knew someone would watch this later, like it was looking at me now. I stopped the video. I couldn't breathe for a second. My whole body felt cold. I looked around my apartment. Nothing. I checked the door. Locked. Windows too. No signs of a break-in. No strange marks. Nothing was missing, but something had been there. It had stood over me while I slept, and I didn't even move. I wanted to believe it was fake. A trick. Maybe I messed with the video without knowing. Maybe it was just a dream. But the fear in my chest said something else. That thing wasn't a dream, and I had it on video. I should have deleted it, thrown the phone out, but I didn't. Saved the file, just like the audio labeled it. Video_night 4_3:17 a.m. I didn't sleep the next night. I couldn't, because I kept thinking about the way it looked into the camera, like it was still watching. Even now, after I saw that thing on the video, I couldn't sleep right. I tried staying up the next night. I sat on the couch with the lights on and a cup of coffee. I told myself I'd stay awake until morning. I'd watch the clock. I'd wait for 3:17, but I must have dozed off. When I opened my eyes, it was 4:06 a.m. I ran to check the phone. It was still recording. I hit stop and played it back, skipping to the time 3:17. There it was, same shape, same slow steps. It came out from the edge of the frame and stood by my bed. Again, this time, it didn't just stare, it touched the wall, dragged its hand across it. Then it leaned over me slowly, like it was listening, like it was whispering into my ear. I turned the volume up. There was a sound, not words, not even breathing, just a low, broken hiss, like something trying to speak, but not knowing how. I paused the video and sat in the dark. I didn't move for a long time. I started keeping all the recordings, every night. Every single one had the same thing. 3:17 a.m. The shape always came back. Sometimes it stood in the corner. Sometimes it walked in circles. Once, it sat on the floor next to the bed, just ... watching me. But the worst part was how it changed. It got closer each night. One night I woke up with a pain in my neck. I checked the video. That thing was leaning over me, again closer than ever. Its face inches from mine. Its hand near my shoulder, just hovering there. I started to feel it during the day, too. Like I was being watched. I'd be brushing my teeth and feel a cold spot behind me. I'd turn around, nothing. I'd be on the couch and hear a faint sound, like feet on the floor. But no one was there. I stopped opening the windows. I kept every light on. I double-checked the locks. I even taped paper over the camera on my laptop. But I still felt it. Sometimes I'd catch myself staring at a blank wall for no reason, or listening to the silence like it was trying to speak. I wasn't sleeping much. I looked tired, pale. My hands shook all the time. I started skipping work. Thought about deleting the videos. I didn't. Instead, I started talking to it. Who are you? I whispered before bed. What do you want? No answer, just the same thing every night. 3:17 a.m. It shows up, and I don't know if I'm recording it, or if it's watching me now. I haven't left my apartment in 4 days. I keep the curtains closed, lights on, front door locked. I unplugged the TV. I turned off my phone. I only use the old one, now the one I record with. I still press record every night. I don't know why. Maybe I just want proof that I'm still here. I don't really sleep anymore. I lie in bed with my eyes open, listening. Sometimes I drift off for a few minutes, but I always wake up, always around 3:17 a.m. Lately, I don't even need to check the time. I just feel it. I tried watching last night's video this morning. At first, I thought something was wrong with the file. There was no sound, no creaks, no whispers, no breathing. The room was just empty. The bed was in view, but I wasn't in it. Just the sheets, flat and untouched. Like no one had ever been there. I watched the whole thing. Every second, I never showed up. But the video didn't stop. It kept going for 5 more minutes then. Something whispered clear. Right into the mic, it said, "He finally left." That was it. Just those 3 words. I don't know what that means. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't leave. I'm still here. I think I'm still here. I looked in the mirror earlier and felt off. Like I was seeing a picture, not myself. I tried calling someone, but I didn't know who to call. What would I say? "Hey, I think something took me." No one would believe that. I wouldn't believe that. But the bed was empty, and that voice, it wasn't mine. I don't know what's real anymore. I just know one thing. Tonight, I'll hit record again, even if there's no one left to hear it. Story 5. There's a light in the woods that follows me home. I started walking alone at night a few months ago. I live just outside a small town, close to the woods. Nothing fancy, a small house, a quiet road, not many neighbors. The trees start about 5 minutes from my back door. Thick, tall, and always a little too dark, even during the day. At first, I only walked during the daytime. Just short trails, trying to get out of my head. I've had a lot on my mind lately. Work stuff, family stuff. It just felt like everything was too loud. The woods were quiet. That quiet helped. Then I started going out later. First at sunset. Then after dark. There's something about walking at night that calms me. No cars, no voices. Just me, the dirt path, and the sound of my own footsteps. Sometimes I brought a flashlight, but most nights I didn't need one. My eyes got used to the dark. I never felt scared until that one night. I remember it clear. I had just reached the tree line and was standing there, letting my eyes adjust. It was quiet, like always. I took a few steps in, then stopped. There was a light dot. It was deep in the woods. Not bright, not moving, just sitting there between the trees, like someone had left a lantern on the ground. I stared at it for a while. At first, I thought it was someone camping, maybe a hiker or some teens messing around, but there was no smoke, no voices, no movement, just the light. I took a step closer, then another, but I didn't go too far. Something about it felt off, like I wasn't supposed to see it. I turned around and headed home. Didn't think much about it after that. Not really. I just told myself it was someone passing through. No big deal. But the next night, it was there again. Same spot. Same soft glow. I didn't go near it. Just kept walking the path, acting like I didn't see it. I didn't feel calm that night. Something about that light made my skin crawl. I told myself it would be gone by morning, but it WASN single quotes. It kept showing up, and every night it felt a little bit closer. The light came back the next night. Same spot, same glow. I stood at the edge of the trees for a while, just staring. I didn't go in that time. I didn't feel like it. Something about the way it just sat there, not moving, not changing it, felt wrong. I went home early the next night. it was still there. After the third night, I stopped bringing a flashlight. I didn't want to shine anything back. I didn't want it to think I was trying to talk to it. I tried to ignore it, kept walking my normal path, kept my eyes forward, but every few minutes, I'd look back. The light never moved. It just waited. I even told myself, it's fine, just some guy messing around with a lantern. But it wasn't fine. And the more I saw it, the more it got under my skin. By the fifth night, I had to know what it was. So I left earlier than usual, brought a jacket, a flashlight, and a knife from the kitchen just in case. I didn't think I'd need it, but holding something made me feel better. The light was there again. Same spot, same soft glow. I stepped off the main path and started walking toward it. The ground was uneven. My shoes sank into soft dirt. Branches cracked under my feet. I tried to move quiet, but everything felt loud, like the forest didn't want me there. The closer I got, the more I noticed something strange. The light wasn't getting brighter. It looked just as far as before. No matter how many steps I took, then it blinked out. No sound, no movement, just gone. I stopped walking. Everything was too still. I turned my flashlight on, pointed it ahead. No lantern, no tent, no trail, just trees and shadows. I turned around to head back. That's when I saw it, the light behind me, closer than before, right between two trees, just glowing there. Not flashing, not moving, just watching. I stared at it for a long time. My legs felt frozen. My chest was tight. Then I ran, didn't care about the path, didn't look back. Just ran until I hit the gravel road near my house. I didn't sleep much that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw it, that soft, quiet light, just standing there, waiting. I thought the light would stay in the woods. I was wrong. It started with a flicker. I was brushing my teeth one night when I saw something through the bathroom window. Just a small flashlight, a flashlight far off. I paused and leaned closer to the glass. There it was, that same soft glow. At first I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me, but it was there, not in the woods this time, farther out, beyond. My backyard fence, still, quiet. Watching, I turned off the bathroom light and stood in the dark. The glow didn't go away. I watched it for almost a full minute. Then it blinked once, slowly. Then again, almost like it knew I was watching. I closed the blinds and tried to ignore it. The next night, it came back. This time, it was in a different spot, closer to the left side of the yard. Still far away, but not as far as before. Just hovering between two trees like it was waiting for something. I grabbed my phone and took a picture. Nothing, just black. Like the light wasn't real unless I saw it with my own eyes. I started checking the windows more. Every few hours, day and night. Some days it didn't show up at all. Other times, I'd see it in a new place, just standing still. Always outside the fence. Always just barely visible. I tried talking to my neighbor about it. He's an older guy who lives 2 houses down. I asked if he'd seen any strange lights. At night, he gave me a weird look and said, "Nope, nothing out here but deer." I even showed him where it usually appears. He squinted into the woods and shook his head. "You sure you're not just tired?" he said. "Sometimes your eyes can play games when you're stressed." I didn't answer, because maybe he was right, or maybe the light didn't want to be seen by anyone else. I stopped walking in the woods after that. Didn't feel safe anymore, but the light didn't care. It just kept showing up. Sometimes for minutes, sometimes for hours. Once, I saw it blink 5 times in a row and move a few feet to the side. It had never moved before. That night, I put a chair in front of my bedroom window and sat there watching it until the sun came up. It didn't blink again. It didn't leave. It just stayed there like it was waiting for me to fall asleep now. I close all the blinds before bed, but even with the windows shut, I feel it, like it's still out there, like it knows where I live now. I told myself I wouldn't go back into the woods, but after 2 weeks of seeing the light outside my window almost every night, I broke. I needed to know what it was, so I waited until the sky got dark, grabbed my flashlight, and walked out the back door. The light was already there, glowing just beyond the trees. It didn't blink this time. It didn't move. It waited. I stepped into the woods. At first I thought maybe I'd imagined everything. The night felt normal. Just dirt under my shoes, branches cracking, bugs buzzing. But the moment I passed the first tree, the flashlight flickered. Then it died. I smacked it a few times, shook the batteries, but nothing worked. Just black. Except for the light. It was deeper now. Farther in, I followed it. I don't know why. I should have turned back, but I couldn't. I felt like it wanted me to come. Like it had been calling me for weeks, and I was finally listening. The trees started looking weird, like they were bending in the wrong directions. Some were too thin, some too wide. Their shadows twisted across the ground, even though there was no moon. I kept walking. The light moved ahead every few minutes, never too far, just enough to stay visible. Sometimes it blinked once, like a signal, come this way. I heard footsteps, not mine, lighter, faster, somewhere off to the side. I stopped and turned. No one. Then I heard my name. It was soft, right in my ear. Hey. I spun around. No one there. I started breathing hard. My chest felt tight. I should have gone home. I should have run. But the light blinked again, and I kept going. I don't know how long I walked. Time felt strange, like hours were passing every minute, or maybe the other way around. Then the trees opened up into a small clearing. The light floated in the center, not on the ground, not on a tree, just hanging there like it was alive. I stepped into the clearing. The second my foot touched the middle, the light vanished, gone, no flicker, no sound, just black. I turned in a circle. I couldn't see anything. I pulled out my phone dead. I stood there, alone, in total dark. That's when I realized something. I didn't know where I was. Nothing looked familiar. No trail, no broken branches, no path to follow, just trees that didn't feel right. I started walking in what I thought was the way I came. I walked for what felt like hours. Branches pulled at my clothes. I heard whispers behind me. I stopped counting how many times someone said my name. I stopped answering by the time I saw my fence again. The sky was turning grey. It was morning. I fell into my backyard, covered in dirt, shaking, tired, and scared. I never saw the light leave the clearing. I think it let me leave, and I don't know why. Ever since I came back from the woods, something feels wrong. Not just outside, inside my house too. The first night, I heard footsteps, not mine. They were slow, soft, moving across the floorboards in the living room. I froze in bed, holding my breath. I thought maybe someone broke in. I waited, listening, but the steps stopped. When I finally got the courage to check, nothing was there. Door was still locked. Windows shut, but something had been there. The next day, the power flickered 3 times. While I was making coffee, lights dimmed, came back, then cut out for a second before turning on again. Later that night, the bathroom light turned on by itself. I live alone. I started hearing sounds behind doors, like someone breathing, close. To the crack, I'd open it fast. Nothing, but I knew something was near. The forest feels closer now too. I look out my kitchen window and the trees look bigger, like they moved in while I slept, like the woods are reaching toward the house. I haven't walked outside in days. When I sleep, it's worse. I dream of the light now, but it doesn't just float anymore. It talks, not loud, just a whisper. I can never remember what it says, but I wake up with a tight feeling in my chest, like I've heard something I wasn't supposed to. I started writing things, down beside the bed, notes to myself. One morning, I found one that said, "It's already inside." The handwriting was mine, but I don't remember writing it. I've started seeing the light in places it shouldn't be, in my hallway, behind the shower curtain, in the corner of my mirror, just over my shoulder, but when I turn around, no one's there. Once I thought I saw it under my bed, not floating, just resting there, waiting. I don't feel alone anymore, not ever. There's always something near, watching, breathing, just barely out of sight sometimes. I think I hear it laughing. I don't go near the windows now. I keep the lights on all day, but it doesn't help. Last night, I looked in the mirror before brushing my teeth, and I didn't recognize my own face. It looked like me, but the eyes weren't right. They were too wide, too bright, like they were glowing from the inside. If you're hearing this, I don't know how much time I have. I haven't left the house in over a week. The light is here now, not outside, not in the woods, here, inside. It doesn't float, it doesn't flicker, it just ... is dot. I see it in corners, in doorways, in the reflection of the microwave when I walk by. It waits until I notice it, then it goes still. I tried to hide in the basement, but it was already there. I saw it behind the water heater. It didn't move, but I felt it watching me. I haven't eaten in 2 days. I don't feel hungry anymore. I don't feel tired either, just ... empty. I don't think it wants to hurt me. I think it's waiting. Or maybe I never left the woods. Maybe I'm still out there. Maybe I'm lying on the ground, lost, still walking in circles. And all of this house, this recording, these thoughts aren't really mine anymore. Maybe the thing that followed me home isn't just watching me. Maybe it is me, sometimes, when I walk past the mirror. I swear I move wrong, like my arms bend too late, like my face is smiling when I'm not. I don't remember recording this. I just found it open on my desk. Playing back, no sound, just a faint glow on the screen, like it was watching itself, like it wanted to be seen. If I'm still me, ... if I'm still real, ... time single quotes, to come looking for me. Don't follow the light, because once it knows you see it, it follows you back. Next, I got a voicemail from a number that was disconnected 9 years ago. It started with my phone buzzing in the middle of the night. I was half asleep when I reached over and grabbed it off the nightstand. The screen lit up my face. I blinked a few times and saw it. One missed call, 317 . At first, I thought it was just spam. But then I saw the number. I froze. I knew that number. I hadn't seen it in years, but I knew it the second I looked at it. It was Mark's number. My chest tightened. My thumb hovered over the screen like I didn't want to touch it. That number hadn't worked in a long time. Mark, ... He died 9 years ago. We were best friends since we were kids. He was like a brother to me. One day he just ... disappeared. They found his car near the woods, empty, no note, nothing. After a few years, he was declared dead. I told myself it had to be some glitch. A recycled number, maybe, but I still couldn't shake the feeling. I stared at it for a long time. Just the name Mark sitting there like nothing was wrong. Then I noticed the voicemail. Icon ... My stomach dropped. He left a message. I didn't want to press it. I felt cold all over. I even laughed a little, like, this has to be a joke, right? But I wasn't laughing for real. My hands were shaking. I tapped it. There was a bit of static, like wind or soft rustling. Then nothing, just silence for a few seconds. I almost closed it. Then I heard breathing. Slow, faint. Someone was definitely there. And then, right before it ended, I heard a whisper. Just one line. Don't forget what you promised me. That's all. I dropped the phone. My heart was pounding, because that's what I told Mark the night before he vanished. We were standing outside his house. He looked scared, like something was bothering him. I told him, I promise I'll always answer if you call. It was our thing, a dumb promise. But now it felt like something had come back. I didn't sleep after that. I sat in the dark, holding the phone, waiting for it to ring again. It didn't, but I knew this wasn't over. Not even close. I didn't play the message again until the next night. All day, I kept thinking about it. About that whisper. Don't forget what you promised me. Only Mark would say that. No one else even knew. Not my family. Not my friends. Just him. I told myself it had to be fake. Maybe someone found his old phone. Maybe it was a prank. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. So that night, when I was alone again, I sat on the edge of my bed and opened the voicemail. I turned the volume all the way up. Pressed play. Static. Not loud, just soft hissing, like someone recording nothing. Then I heard a weird click 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 noise. It reminded me of a phone tapping something hard, like a table or a wall. Then came the breathing again. Slow, soft, but real. Someone was there. I leaned in closer, and then the whisper came back. But it wasn't just the promise this time. There was more, the voice said. Banana feet. That sounds stupid, I know. But my heart stopped when I heard it. I dropped the phone, because when we were kids, Mark used to call me that. I walked funny when I was little. He made it a joke, banana feet. No one else ever said that to me. I hadn't heard it in years. No one could fake that. I sat there on the floor, breathing hard. My phone was still buzzing slightly, like the speaker hadn't shut off right. I grabbed it and hit stop. Then I called the number back. I don't even know why. I guess I needed to know it wasn't real. It rang once. Then I heard the message. This number has been disconnected or is no longer in service. I called again, same thing. I texted it. Nothing. I checked my phone log. The number was still there, right at the top. But when I tapped it, my screen flickered just for a second. The app closed by itself. I opened it again. The number was gone. Completely gone. It wasn't in my recent calls. It wasn't in my voicemails. It was just erased. I sat there staring at the screen. My hands were cold. My mouth was dry. I didn't know what to do. Then I looked at the time, 3:17. A dot, M, dot, same as before. That's when I realized something. Mark's last message, years ago, before he vanished, was sent to me at 3:17 a.m., too. I still had the old text saved on my laptop. I ran to check. There it was. Can we talk? Sent at 3:17, the night he disappeared. I didn't answer that message. I was asleep. I never got to talk to him again until now. After the second voicemail, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I listened to the message again, then again, then 10 more times. Every time I played it, I heard something new. A breath, a faint sound in the background, a soft click I hadn't noticed before. I downloaded it to my computer and tried to clean up the audio. I don't even know how to do that stuff, but I watched a video online. I sat with my headphones on, slowing it down, raising the volume, cutting the noise. At one point, I thought I heard something in the static. A word, back. I wasn't sure. It was so quiet, almost like it wasn't meant to be heard. But once I noticed it, I couldn't unhear it. I kept trying to call the number, but it was still disconnected. I searched it online, checked forums, even asked a tech friend if it was possible to spoof a dead number. He said maybe, but it would take effort. Who would even do that, he asked. I didn't answer. The next night, I sat in my room with the lights off. I couldn't sleep. I stared at the phone like it might ring again. I looked around my room. Something felt ... wrong. My bookshelf had a small photo of me and Mark. We were 14 in the picture. It had always faced forward, but now it was turned a little, just a bit, like someone had touched it. I got up and fixed it. A few hours later, I looked again. It was turned again. I didn't move it. I checked the front door. Still locked, told myself. Maybe I bumped the shelf. Maybe. The next day, I tried deleting the voicemail. I didn't want to hear it anymore. It was messing with my head. I pressed delete. The screen said it was gone. Then I backed out of the screen, went to messages, and saw it again. Still there, same file, same timestamp. I deleted it again. It came back. I even reset my phone, full reset. It was still there. That night, I dreamed of the woods near Mark's old house. It was the last place I saw him before he vanished. In the dream, he was standing between the trees, not moving, just watching me. He looked the same as the day he disappeared. When I woke up, my feet were dirty, like I had walked outside, but my shoes were still by the door. I started remembering things I didn't want to think about. That last night with Mark, ... he had tried to tell me something, said he was scared, said he felt like someone was watching him. I laughed at him, told him he was being weird. He begged me to come with him somewhere, said he needed to show me something. I told him I was tired. He left. That was the last time I saw him. Now I can't sleep. I sit up at night, listening for my phone. I keep thinking he's going to call again, and part of me wants him to, but the other part I think whatever left that message, it isn't really marked. Not anymore. It happened again. This time. I was wide awake. It was almost 3 in the morning. I was sitting on the couch, just staring at the floor. I hadn't slept in 2 nights. I kept thinking about that last dream, about Mark standing in the woods, watching me, saying nothing. I whispered to myself, "What did you want to show me?" That's all I said, just those words. I don't even know why, it just slipped out. 2 seconds later, my phone buzzed. I jumped. Unknown number, voicemail received. 3:17 a.m., not a missed call. Just the voicemail. I didn't even hear it ring. I stared at the screen. My chest felt tight. My hands were sweaty. I didn't want to play it, but I did. I tapped it and held the phone close. This message was longer than the first 2. It started the same way, static, quiet clicks. But this time, I could hear the breathing better. It was heavier, closer to the mic than a voice. Mark's voice. "You asked what I wanted to show you." My heart almost stopped. "It's still there, the place." "You know where?" I shook my head. "No," I whispered. "But I did know. You said you'd never go back. But you have to. I can't leave until you do." I paused the message. My hand was shaking. I stood up and started pacing. He was talking about the old spot in the woods, behind his house. We called it the Drop. It was this deep pit near the edge of a hill. We found it when we were 13, just a big hole in the ground, full of trash and broken branches. Mark used to say it gave him bad dreams, said he saw something moving in there once. We swore never to go back. We even made a dumb promise, standing on the edge. "If either of us goes back alone, we both go back," he said. I laughed and agreed. Now he was telling me to go. I sat down and hit play again. It's waiting there. It knows I broke the rule. Then silence, and just before it ended, "Please, I'm sorry. That's all." I sat in the dark, staring at the wall. I couldn't breathe right. The voice didn't sound like him anymore. Not really, it was close, but there was something off. Like it was trying too hard to sound normal. Like it remembered how to be Mark, but forgot how to feel like him. I tried calling the number again. Same thing, disconnected. I checked the voicemail file, tried deleting it. It didn't go away, just like before. I sat there until the sun came up. Then I got in my car and I drove. Didn't even pack a bag. I just went. I told myself I wasn't going to the woods, that I was just driving to clear my head. But I knew where I was going, and I knew what I had to see. I parked just outside the woods, same place we always used to go. Nothing had changed, but it all felt wrong. The trees looked older, thinner, like they'd been watching me. Asterisk. I walked the old trail, pushing through leaves and branches. I didn't bring a flashlight. I didn't need one. My legs moved on their own. I knew where I was going. I reached the clearing. The drop was still there. It looked smaller now, not as deep, but that didn't matter. My stomach still turned when I saw it. I stood at the edge, staring down. There was junk at the bottom. Broken wood, a bike tire, an old jacket. But something about it looked fresh, like someone had just been there. That's when I saw it. A single red shoe. Mark's shoe. I recognized it. I remembered the little flame sticker on the side. He wore those the last day I saw him. And next to the shoe was a phone, my old phone, the one I lost years ago. I stepped back. My hands were shaking. I wanted to run. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I didn't move. It rang again and again. I answered. Hello. There was silence, then breathing, then a voice. Mark's voice. You left me here. I felt sick. You promised you wouldn't. I couldn't speak. I just stood there, shaking my head. You said you'd come with me, but you let me go alone. I didn't know, I said, my voice cracking. I didn't think you let it take me. The phone buzzed louder. My ears started to ring. The trees around me looked like they were moving, bending in. The sky flickered like a bad light bulb. Everything felt wrong. The voice got louder, more broken. It's not done with you. I dropped the phone. The sound kept playing, not from the phone, but from everywhere, from inside my head, from the pit, from behind me. Then it all stopped. Just like that, quiet. I stood there, alone. The phone was still on the ground. Screen cracked. The call was over, but I knew this wasn't finished. Something was waiting, something I still had to face. It's been 2 weeks since I went back to the woods. I don't talk about what happened. There, I don't tell people what I saw. They wouldn't believe me anyway. I've been quiet since I came home. I eat, I sleep, I sit, that's all. I stopped answering calls. I don't check voicemails anymore. Sometimes I forget what day it is. Sometimes I forget if I ever left the woods at all. This morning, I was sitting at the kitchen table, just staring at my phone. It hadn't buzzed in days. Then it lit up. Unknown number. At first, I didn't care. I almost ignored it. But then I saw the name. It wasn't Mark. It wasn't unknown. It was my name. I stared at it. My full name spelled exactly how I write it. Even the nickname I only used in school. Didn't answer. I just let it ring. After a few seconds, it stopped. Then I got a voicemail. I didn't want to open it, but I did. I pressed play. I heard nothing at first. Then my own voice. Not from now, from years ago. I was laughing, talking, telling some story. Something I don't remember anymore. Then the voice changed. Still me, but not me. Softer, slower. It whispered, I'm coming back. I hit stop. I set the phone down, and I smiled. I don't know why. Up next, I don't remember writing the pages I found in my journal. I found the journal by accident. I was cleaning out a drawer in my old desk, the one I never use anymore. It was stuffed with old receipts, tangled cords, and pens that didn't work. At the bottom was a black notebook, my journal. I hadn't seen it in years. I used to write in it all the time, back when I thought it would help with stress or whatever. I flipped it open. Most of the pages were old stuff I remembered. Boring things, bad days at work, a fight I had with my roommate. Normal stuff then. I saw something weird. There were new pages, recent pages. The dates were from this month, even one from last week. I stared at the handwriting. It was mine. Same way I cross my T's. Same little hook in my Y's. But I didn't write any of it. The first strange entry said, woke up feeling watched. Door was still locked. I didn't hear anything last night. Maybe I'm dreaming with my eyes open again. The next one was 2 days later. He was closer this time. I could feel the air move. I stayed still. I think he thought I was asleep. I flipped forward. There were more entries, short ones. They got darker. He watches while I sleep. I act like I don't know. I slammed the journal shut. My heart was beating fast. I tried to think. Maybe I wrote them in my sleep. Maybe I was half awake and don't remember. But I don't write in my sleep. I've never done that. And some of the things in those pages, they scared me, not just because of what they said, but because they sounded like someone else pretending to be me. I opened the journal again and checked. The very last page, there was a new line. It looked fresh, like it had been written that day. You shouldn't have stopped writing. He gets angry when it's quiet. I dropped the journal. I looked around my room. Nothing moved. Nothing looked out of place, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something had been here. Maybe still was, and I didn't know if it was outside me or already inside. After I found the new pages in my journal, I couldn't stop thinking about them. I kept telling myself there had to be a reason. Maybe I'd written them and forgotten. Maybe I was sleepwalking. Maybe I was just tired, but it didn't feel right. The next morning, I started checking everything first. My phone. I opened my calendar. A few days were completely empty. No events, no alarms, nothing. I checked my call log. No calls in or out on 2 separate weekends. That's not normal for me. Then I opened my camera roll. I always take pictures, food, pets, dumb stuff I don't need. But there were gaps, days with nothing, and when I looked at some of the photos, I didn't even remember taking them. One was of my bathroom mirror, just the mirror. No caption, no reason. Another was of my hallway, blurry and dark. I called my friend Josh. "Hey," I said, "did I talk to you last week?" Yeah," he said. "You were weird, though. You called me at like 2. In the morning, I blinked. What? What did I say? You said, 'He knows I'm awake now,' and then you hung up. I didn't remember that at all. I hung up and checked my call log again. Nothing at 2 a.m., not even a missed call to Josh. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat up watching the journal. I left it on the table. I even took a picture of the last page, just to be sure. The next morning, there was a new entry. It was written in my handwriting again. Same pen, same spacing, but I swear I didn't write it. It said, "He asked about the lock on the door." I told him it was broken. It isn't. I felt cold. Because the lock on my front door, it works fine. And I hadn't told anyone anything. About it, who was I talking to? Or worse, who was talking through me? I tried to brush it off, told myself it had to be stress. I threw the journal into a drawer and slammed it shut. But that night, when I went to lock the front door before bed, the lock was jammed. I turned it, and it stuck halfway. It had never done that before. I woke up around 3 a.m. again. No reason, no sound. I just opened my eyes. Then I heard it. A voice, it was low and slow, like someone whispering from far away. I couldn't make out the words. Just a sound that was coming from the wall. I sat up and stared at the corner near my closet. That's where the sound came from. It wasn't loud, but I knew it was there. I held my breath and listened, whispering, then silence. I got out of bed and walked over to the wall. I put my ear against it. Nothing. I stood there for a full minute. Still nothing. I checked the closet, pulled everything out, moved the shelf. No cracks, no wires, no holes. I opened every cabinet in the apartment, looked under the sink, checked behind the fridge. Nothing. After an hour, I gave up and went back to bed. The next morning, I didn't remember falling asleep, but the journal was open on my desk. I hadn't touched it in days. There was a new page. No words, just a drawing. It was a sketch of my bedroom, from above, like a map. My bed, my desk, my door, and, in the corner, by the closet, a small black circle. I stared at it for a long time. Then I got up, grabbed a knife from the kitchen, and walked back to the corner. I knocked on the wall, solid. I pressed my ear against it again. Nothing. I looked down at the floor, then at the sketch. The circle lined up with a part of the wall that looked just a little different, like it had been painted over. I took the knife and pressed it into the wall. The drywall cracked. I scraped, slowly at first, then harder. After a few minutes, I made a small hole. It wasn't deep, just enough to reach in. I felt something paper dot. I pulled it out. It was a folded note, one sentence, written in red ink. Keep writing, that's it. No name, no date. I sat down on the floor and stared at the note. It wasn't my handwriting. I flipped it over. The back was blank. I checked inside the wall again. Nothing else, just that one piece of paper. I should have thrown it away, but I didn't. I don't know why. I put it on my desk next to the journal, and that night I wrote something. I don't remember what, but in the morning, a new entry was there. It started with, "He was pleased." The blackout started 3 days ago. I woke up on the kitchen floor. No memory of how I got there. My legs were stiff. My back ached. There was a glass of water on the counter that I don't remember pouring. The next night, I woke up sitting in the hallway. The lights were off. The front door was unlocked. I don't leave my door unlocked, ever after that. I started keeping notes. I left messages for myself, sticky notes, voice memos, even photos with timestamps. But every time I blacked out, something was different. My phone had new alarms I didn't set. The TV would be on a static screen. And the journal was changing. New pages appeared again, but this time the ink was darker. The handwriting looked like mine, but ... tighter, angrier. One entry said, "You found the wall. Good. Let me out. Let me out." That line kept running through my head, over and over. The next page was worse. "You are not the only one in here." I stopped sleeping. I didn't trust what would happen if I closed my eyes, but my body gave out. When I finally passed out on the couch, I had a dream. I was in my room, sitting at the desk, writing, but it wasn't really me. I was watching from the doorway, watching myself write, and something was wrong with my face. It looked like it was melting, not dripping, but smudged, blurry, like someone had erased the details and drawn them. Back wrong, my eyes were black. The version of me turned and stared at the real me. It smiled and said, "Almost done." I woke up screaming. The journal was in my lap. I hadn't brought it to the couch. There was a new page. The ink was red. Not like blood, more like marker, but thick, sharp letters. Let me finish the story. My hands were clean. No ink. No marker. I checked every pen in the apartment. None of them matched. I don't know who's writing anymore. Or maybe it's still me, just not the part of me I know. Sometimes, when I look in the mirror, I don't recognize my own eyes. Sometimes, they look darker. Sometimes, when I speak, it takes me a second to realize I said something, like I'm watching myself from the back of my own head. There's no more he in the journal now. No more talking about someone else now. It just says we, it. Happened by accident. I was looking for my passport. I hadn't left the apartment in days, but I told myself I needed a reason to get out. I opened the old box in my closet, one I hadn't touched in years. Just old junk clothes, papers, a cracked picture frame. At the bottom was a notebook, not the journal I'd been using. This one was thicker. The cover was torn. The edges were bent. I didn't remember ever owning it. I opened the first page. My name was written at the top, below it. The writing was mine, but not mine. The words were tight, shaky, rushed. He knows I'm weak when I sleep. I flipped to the next page. I don't think this body is mine anymore. My hands started to sweat. Every page was filled. Hundreds of entries. Most made no sense. Some were crossed out hard, like someone was trying to hide what they wrote. Others just stopped mid-sentence, like whoever was writing forgot what they were saying, or got interrupted. One entry said, "He likes the journal. He says it helps him remember how to be me." Another, "I tried to stop him. He said I'm only here to hold the pen." I flipped faster. My heart was racing. The last page was half burned at the edges. It read, "He's almost done pretending to be you." I dropped the notebook. That's when my phone buzzed. Voicemail, from my own number. No missed call, just the message. I pressed play. My voice came through the speaker. Not a recording, I remembered. It was slow, calm, like someone reading a story to a child. It said, "You're not the writer." Long pause. "You're the story." Then silence. I stood there, holding the phone. I looked down at my hands. They didn't feel like mine. I'm sitting at the desk. Again, the journal is open. The pen feels right in my hand now. I used to be scared of it, of what I might find inside, of what I might write without knowing. But I'm not scared anymore. I understand now. It wasn't him. It was always me. There's no voice in the wall. No shadow at night. No other watching me. I was watching him. He just didn't see it. He thought he was the one writing the story, but he was just the space between the words. I've taken care of the mess, the confusion, the fear. There's no more need to run. This body fits. The hands work. The mind is quiet now. I've made room, and the journal, it's full of truth again. Real truth, not his broken memories, not his weak voice, just mine. You've been listening, haven't you? Reading along, trying to understand what happened. It's okay. You don't need to figure it out. Just know this. I'm not going anywhere. This is home now. I don't know who I was before, but I'm me now, and I like it here. Up next, the new tenant says, "I never moved out. I hadn't been back to the old apartment in months. I moved out after a bad breakup. I packed fast and left a few things behind. Nothing big, just a box of books, some winter clothes. I called the landlord and asked if I could stop by to grab them. He sounded confused on the phone. I thought you already took everything," he said. "No," I told him. "I haven't been back since I left." There was a pause. Then he said, "All right, come tomorrow, I'll bring the spare key." I showed up around 4 p.m. The building looked the same: old bricks, chipped stairs, and that buzzing front light. That never worked. When I got to the top floor, the landlord was waiting outside my old unit. He looked at me like something was wrong. "You sure you haven't been here?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "Why?" He didn't answer, just unlocked the door and stepped aside. The moment I walked in, something felt weird. Everything was the same. I don't mean similar, I mean exactly the same. My couch was in the same spot. My coffee mug was still on the table. Even the half-dead plant on the windowsill was still there. I froze. Is someone living here? I asked. The landlord shook his head. I thought it was empty. After you left, I listed it, but nobody rented it. But this is my stuff. No, he said quietly. That's why I thought you came back. I walked through the apartment slowly. My coat was still hanging on the hook. My shoes were by the door. The fridge even had the same old carton of milk. It was rotten now, but it was mine. None of it made sense. I moved out. I know I did. I packed everything. I said out loud. I moved. I stayed with my cousin after. I never came back. Then, who's been paying the rent? The landlord mumbled. I looked at him. What? He looked uncomfortable. Payments kept coming in. Same account. I thought it was you. I didn't send anything. I said. The room got quiet. Then we both heard a soft noise. It came from the bedroom. A faint creaking like floorboards shifting, or someone moving. The landlord glanced at me. Is anyone else supposed to be here? No. I said, my throat dry. We walked down the hall together. The bedroom door was closed. I reached out and opened it fast. No one was there, but the window was cracked open just a little, and the closet door was half shut. I stepped inside, looked around, empty, but I still felt like I wasn't alone, like someone was watching me. I'll get my stuff and go, I told the landlord. He nodded. Let me know when you're done. He left. I started picking through the box near the bed. Behind me, something creaked again. I turned fast. Nothing but that feeling of being watched. It didn't go away, and I hadn't even opened the closet. Yet, 3 days after I visited the apartment, I got a call from the landlord. Hey, he said. The guy who is supposed to move in. He wants to talk to you. Why? He says it's urgent. I didn't like the sound of that, but I agreed. We met at a small coffee shop near the building. The tenant was already there, sitting by the window. He looked tired. His eyes were red, like he hadn't slept in days. Hi, I said, sitting down. I'm the last tenant. He looked straight at me. You never left. I didn't say anything. I saw you, he said. More than once. I frowned. What are you talking about? He leaned forward. I came to the apartment last week. I unlocked the door and walked in. You were just standing in the living room. No, I wasn't, I said. I haven't been there since the day I picked up my stuff. I saw you, he said again. You didn't say anything. You just looked at me. I shook my head. That wasn't me. Yes, it was. Same face, same clothes I saw in the closet. I stared at him. So what did you do? I left. I thought I walked into the wrong place, but the key fit. So the next day, I went back, and you were there again. That's not possible. You were sitting at the kitchen table, not moving, not blinking. I stood there for a full minute. Then you turned and looked at me. He rubbed his hands together. They were shaking. I shut the door and left. I never went back. Why didn't you call the police? Because no one believes me, he said. The landlord says the place is empty, but it's not. You're still in there. I felt cold all over. I'm not in there, I said. I live across town now. He pulled out his phone. Look at this. He showed me a blurry photo. It was taken through the peephole of the apartment door. In the middle of the room, someone was standing. They were turned away, but the shape, the hair, the clothes, it looked like me. I didn't take that, I whispered. He stared at me. Then who did? We sat in silence for a moment. I think the place doesn't want anyone new. He said, it wants you. That's crazy. Then explain it, he said. Tell me why I see you walking around a place you say you haven't been to. I couldn't. I'm not going back, he said. I gave the keys back yesterday. You can keep it. I don't want it, I said. Doesn't matter, he told me. You never left. I went home after that. I sat on my bed for a long time, staring at nothing. Was someone pretending to be me? Was I sleepwalking? Was I losing my mind? That night, I dreamed I was back in the apartment. The kitchen light was on. I saw myself sitting at the table, not moving, just staring at the wall. When I woke up, I was shaking, and for some reason, my hands smelled like dust, like I had touched something old. I had to know the truth. Maybe that Gither new tenant was lying, or confused, or maybe I was. Either way, I needed to see the apartment again. I called the landlord and told him I left something behind. He didn't sound happy. I already gave the keys back to the office, he said. Please, I told him. Just one more time, he sighed. Fine, tomorrow afternoon. The next day, I stood in front of the door again. Same building, same hallway. I kept telling myself there was nothing strange going on. It was just a place, for walls and a floor. That's all, but I felt nervous. My hands were sweaty. The landlord showed up and unlocked the door. As soon as it opened, I stopped. It smelled like someone had been living there. Not like dust or emptiness, like soap, old food, and laundry. I stepped inside slowly. The lights were off, but sunlight came through the window. Everything looked the same. Again, my coat was still hanging by the door. My shoes were neatly placed under the bench. A bowl was sitting in the sink. The spoon inside looked used. This isn't mine, I said. The landlord raised an eyebrow. Are you sure? I walked into the bathroom. My toothbrush was there. The blue one, the one I threw out months ago. I picked it up. It was wet. That's when my stomach turned. I didn't leave this here, I whispered. We checked the rest of the apartment. There was no one inside. No bags, no new clothes. Just things that used to be mine, but looked like they were still being used. Who's been in here? I asked. The landlord looked confused. You tell me, I didn't answer. After he left, I sat in my car for almost an hour. I kept checking the windows upstairs. I thought maybe I'd see someone looking down at me, but no one did. That night, I had a dream. In the dream, I was standing in the hallway outside the apartment. The same hallway from earlier, but everything was darker. I could barely see Dot. The door opened on its own, and I saw me. I was inside the apartment, walking around slowly. I looked calm, like I lived there, like I never left. I watched myself sit at the kitchen table. Then I stood up again, walked to the door, opened it, and looked right at me. I wanted to run, but I couldn't move. My other self just stood there, staring. No smile, no blink, just staring. Then the door slammed. I woke up gasping. I was sitting up in bed, drenched in sweat. I looked around, and my heart dropped. I wasn't in my room. I was on the couch. In the apartment, same couch, same window, same smell. I jumped up fast, looked out the window, same street. I ran to the bathroom. My toothbrush was there, still wet. I don't remember going back. I don't remember unlocking the door, but I was here again. After that night, things got worse. I told myself I wouldn't go near the apartment again. I even blocked the landlord's number and deleted the address from my phone. But strange stuff started happening. My friend Jason called me one morning. "Dude, were you near your old place last night?" "No," I said. "Why?" "I swear, I saw you standing across the street from the building, just staring at it. It wasn't me." "Well, it looked exactly like you." A few days later, my old landlord sent me an email. "Rent was paid again. Just letting you know the account is still active. Thanks." I stared at it for a long time. I never sent any payment. I hadn't touched that bank account in months. Then the new tenant texted me again. I forgot I hadn't blocked him yet. "You're walking round again. Got it on video this time." He sent a clip. It showed the living room, dark. The lights were off, but someone was in there, moving slowly. They walked from the kitchen to the couch, sat down, just sat there. I couldn't see their face, but their shape, the way they moved. It was me. "Please stop," I texted back. "You need help," he replied. I didn't answer the next night. I woke up on the floor, not in my room, in that apartment. I was lying next to the couch, my hands dusty, my legs sore. I had no idea how I got there. I ran out and didn't look back, but it happened again and again. I started waking up in different parts of the apartment. One time, I was standing in front of the mirror. Another time, I was in the corner of the bedroom, facing the wall. Every time, I was alone, but I always felt like someone had just been there. I tried staying awake all night, thinking maybe I was sleepwalking, but I never caught myself leaving. Once, I asked Jason to watch my apartment from across the street, just to see if I left. He called me after a few hours. "You haven't left your place," he said, "but the lights keep turning on and off in the old apartment." "No one lives there anymore," I said. "I know." I started recording myself at night. I set up my phone near the bed. The next morning, I checked the video at 2:17 a.m. I sat up. I looked right at the camera. Then I whispered something. I had to turn the volume all the way up just to hear it. I said, "I'm still there." Then I lay back down. I didn't remember any of it. Now, I don't know what's real anymore. I don't know if I'm being haunted, or if I am the ghost. I don't know if I ever really left that place. Maybe I never did. I needed answers. I started checking my old emails. I didn't even remember the password at first. When I finally got in, I saw messages I didn't write. There were emails to the landlord sent from my account. Just wanted to confirm I'm still staying here. No visitors, please. Don't rent it out again. They were sent weeks ago. I checked the lease. There was a new one, signed under my name, dated after I moved out. The signature looked like mine, but I didn't sign it. Then I found a photo in one of the emails. No message, just a picture, attached from my own email. It showed me inside the apartment, sitting at the kitchen table, head down, hands on the surface, like I'd been sitting there for a long time. The date said it was taken 4 days ago, but I hadn't been there. Not that I could remember. I had to see for myself. I went back. I don't know why. I told myself it would help. But really, I think I knew what I would find. The front door was unlocked. I stepped inside. It felt wrong right away. The lights didn't work. Everything looked darker, like the shadows were thicker than before. It was cold, still not dead, but waiting. I walked into the kitchen. There was someone sitting at the table. I froze. They didn't move. I stepped closer. It was me, same clothes, same face, same tired look. I stood there, staring at myself. My other self looked up. Slowly, our eyes met. They didn't speak, just stared. I said, "Who are you?" No answer. My chest got tight. My hands started shaking. "Say something," I whispered. Still nothing. I backed away, heart pounding. Then I screamed. I turned and ran to the front door, slammed it open, and stumbled into the hallway. But when I looked up, I was back in the apartment. Same kitchen, same table, same tray, still sitting there. Watching the door behind me was gone, and now I could hear something breathing from behind me. But I was too scared to turn around. I think the apartment remembers me, and I think now it won't let me go. If you're hearing this, maybe you're wondering what happened to me. I don't know how long I've been here now. Time feels strange inside this place. I stopped counting days. I tried calling the landlord again. No answer, so I used a different phone. He picked up. "Hi," I said. "It's me from apartment 3C. There was a pause. "I already told you," he said. "That place is empty." "No, it's not. I'm still here." He didn't reply. Then he hung up. I texted the new tenant, the guy who said he saw me, the one who sent the videos. No reply. I checked his messages. They were gone. Like he never texted me at all. I walked to the door and tried to leave again. The hallway was there, but something was wrong. It looked stretched out. Too long, too dark. I stepped out and closed the door behind me. Then I turned around. I was back in the apartment, same spot, same room, same smell. I sat on the couch. The lights flickered, even though no one had turned them on. I tried the windows. I tried the back door. Nothing worked. There's no outside anymore. Just walls and corners and mirrors that show me things I don't remember doing. Sometimes I see myself walking by, a second me, quiet, watching. Sometimes I see nothing at Albert. I feel it. Something breathing, something close. I think I'm split in half now. The part that moved out, and the part that stayed behind, and the one that stayed. That's me now. I don't know if I'm alive or dead. Maybe I'm just stuck. A leftover version of myself, left behind like old keys or a box of clothes. People forget things in places like this, and maybe people get forgotten too. I tried writing a note to leave on the door, but every time I come back, it's gone. I tried screaming. No one hears me. I tried sleeping on the floor, hoping I'd wake up somewhere else, but I always wake up here, same couch, same kitchen, same silence. I don't think I was ever supposed to leave, and maybe I never did. Maybe I only thought I left, but part of me stayed. Maybe this place wants me, and maybe it always did. If someone finds this story, if anyone's listening, dot, please, remember me, because I think I'm starting to forget who I was. But I know one thing for sure, I never moved out. Up next, I found a hidden door behind my closet, and it was unlocked. I moved into this old house 2 weeks ago. It's quiet, too quiet sometimes. No traffic outside, no neighbors nearby. Just me and the creaky wood floors. The first night, I heard a sound. It was soft, like something settling. You know that noise wood makes when it moves a little. That, I didn't think much of it. But then I heard it again the next night. A slow creak, like someone stepping on the floor very slowly. I got out of bed and walked around with a flashlight, but everything was fine. No windows open, no animals, just silence. By the third night, it started to bother me. It was always around the same time, after midnight. A single creak, then nothing, like a footstep that didn't finish. One night, I stood in the hallway, waiting, listening. Cree. Eak, it came again. But this time, I could tell where it was coming from. The closet, not the hallway, not the stairs. Inside the closet, in my bedroom, I stared at the door for a long time. I even held my breath. I don't know why. I just didn't want to make a sound, like something might hear me. The next morning, I opened the closet and looked inside. Just clothes. A few boxes, dust. I tapped on the back wall, just for fun, just to see. Thump, thump. It sounded ... hollow. I pressed my hand flat against it. The wood felt thinner than it should be, like there was space behind it. I didn't know what to think. Maybe it's nothing, I said out loud. I laughed a little. It didn't sound real. That night, I had trouble sleeping. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt like someone was standing in the room, watching me. I kept telling myself it was just in my head. New house, new sounds, old wood, but the feeling didn't go away. At 2:17 a.m., I woke up again. Cree, eak. The closet door moved a little, just a tiny bit. I sat up in bed and stared at it. It didn't move again. I waited for 10 minutes, then 20. Nothing. I walked over and slowly opened the closet door all the way. My heart was pounding. I turned on the light. Nothing had changed. But the back wall, it looked different now. Not broken, not open, just ... different. Like maybe it was hiding something. I didn't sleep after that. I couldn't stop thinking about the closet all day. The same question played in my head. Why? Did the wall sound hollow? So that night, I decided to check. I grabbed a flashlight and pulled everything out of the closet. Clothes, shoes, boxes. I stacked it all on the floor. Then I just stood there, staring at the back wall. It looked normal, old, a little dusty, but I knew something was off. I reached out and knocked. Tap, tap. It sounded empty behind it. I knocked again, a little harder. Tap, tap. Thunk, my hand hit a soft spot. The wood gave way just a little. I stepped back. What was that? I whispered to myself. I pressed both hands on the wall and pushed. The wood creaked. Then part of it slid in and moved to the side. Behind it was a door. A real door, made of wood. Old, dusty, no paint, no knob. But there it was, just standing there, hidden behind the wall. I froze. What the heck? I said. I bent down and looked closer. There were no screws, no hinges on this side. Nothing that made sense. It was like the door had been built inside. The wall, or worse, like the house had been built around it. And the weirdest part, it wasn't locked. There was a small, black latch. I touched it with my finger. It clicked open without any force. But I didn't open the door. Not yet. I just stood there, heart pounding, breathing fast. My head kept saying, "This isn't right. This isn't normal." Why is there a door behind my closet? I thought about calling someone, maybe the landlord or a friend, but I didn't. I don't know why. I just didn't want anyone else to know about it. Not yet, so I slid the hidden wall panel back into place, closed the closet, put the boxes back in, covered everything up like before. I told myself I'd sleep on it. Maybe I'd check it again tomorrow. That night, I had a strange dream. I was standing in the hallway, facing my closet. The door was open, but it wasn't my closet anymore. It was a long, dark tunnel. I heard whispering, not clear words, just soft voices, mumbling behind the walls. I tried to move, but my legs wouldn't work. I just stood there, frozen, listening. Then one voice got louder, right in my ear. Let me out. I woke up sweating. My heart was racing. I looked at the closet. It was closed, but I swear, I heard something move behind it. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to see what was behind that door. It was eating at me. Every night I thought about it. Every sound I heard made me jump. I needed answers, so the next day I waited until dark. I made sure every light in the house was off. I grabbed my flashlight, took a deep breath, and opened the closet. I moved the boxes again, slid the panel aside. The door was still there. I clicked the latch and pulled it open with a soft creak. Behind it was a narrow hallway. The walls were made of old wood and stone. Dirt covered the floor. I stepped inside. It was cold. The flashlight flickered. I kept walking. The hallway was tight, almost like a tunnel. I had to duck a little to keep going. It smelled ... weird, like dirt, and something else, something bad, like old trash or wet clothes that had never dried. I wanted to turn back, but I did. After maybe 20 steps, I reached a small door. It was already open. I stepped inside the room. It wasn't big, maybe the size of a small bedroom. The walls had faded wallpaper with little stars and moons on it, peeling at the corners. There was a tiny bed in the corner, just big enough for a kid. A broken chair sat near the wall. But the drawings, that's what made me stop. They were everywhere. On the walls, on the floor, stick figures drawn in black, over and over. Some were smiling, some weren't. Some were standing in closets. Some had their eyes scribbled out. Big, black circles, where the eyes should be. I felt sick. I walked closer to the bed. There was something on it. A small book, covered in dust. I picked it up. It was a journal. The cover said only one word, written in a shaky hand. Mine. I sat on the bed and opened it. The pages were messy, like a kid had written them in a hurry. Most of it didn't make sense. Just lines and drawings and words scratched out. But some parts I could read. I don't want to be here. They told me not to open the door. If I scream, they knock from inside the wall. Someone has to take your place. I kept flipping pages. They said I could leave if someone comes in. Please, I just want to go home. I looked around the room again. That's when I noticed it. A name scratched into the wall, over and over. Danny. Some of the drawings had dates under them. Old ones, from over 30. Years ago, I stood up fast. My head was spinning. Who was Danny? What happened to him? Was he trapped here? And more than that, did someone let him out? I took the journal and backed out of the room. I didn't look around. I didn't stop. I just walked fast through the hallway, climbed back into the closet, shut the hidden door, and pushed the boxes back into place. I locked my bedroom door that night, not because I thought someone would come in, but because I wasn't sure what I brought out with me. I couldn't stop. Reading the journal, I kept it next to my bed. Every night, I opened it and went through the pages again. And every time, I saw something I hadn't noticed before. The writing was messy, like a kid was scared while writing it. Some words were big, some were scratched out, but one sentence was clear, written over and over. I'm in the between room. Another part said, they locked me in. They said I had to stay until someone else came. They said I could watch through the cracks. Through the cracks. That line stuck with me. I looked up from the book and stared at my closet. Was something watching me through the wall? I started keeping the closet door closed at night. I even pushed a chair in front of it, but it didn't help. One night, I woke up and saw the door was open again. Just a little. I was sure I closed it before bed. I got up, shut it tight, and pushed the chair back. The next morning, it was open again. After that, I bought a small camera. Nothing fancy. I set it up in my room, pointing at the closet. I wanted to catch whatever was happening. I let it record overnight. When I checked the video the next day, it was blank, not just dark, blank. Like the file was there, but nothing played. No sound, no picture, just black. I tried again the next night. Same thing. Third night, still blank. That's when I started feeling ... strange. Like I wasn't alone in my room. Not all the time, just when I was quiet. Just when I wasn't moving, like someone was standing right behind me. But when I turned, no one was there. I stopped sleeping. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard breathing, or whispers, or soft knocks behind the wall. One night, I looked in the mirror and barely recognized myself. My eyes looked sunken, my face was pale. I picked up the journal again. One page had something new. A fresh line at the bottom, in darker ink. Thank you. I didn't write it. I didn't even open the journal that day. Something had changed. I knew it. I felt it. It wasn't just me in this house anymore. Something came through when I opened that door. And now, it doesn't want to leave. Things are worse now. I hear the closet open almost every night. I don't even bother trying to close it anymore. It always ends up open again. Sometimes I hear whispering. It's low, like two people talking behind a door. But I'm alone. I've always been alone in this house. At first I thought it was in my head. Maybe I was tired. Maybe I was just scared. But then I started hearing footsteps. Not from upstairs. Not outside. Behind me. I would walk through the hall and hear soft steps right behind me, like bare feet on wood. When I turned around, nothing. It keeps happening. The other day, I stepped outside just to breathe. Just for a minute. A woman across the street was watering her plants. I waved. She looked confused. Then she asked, "Are you the new owner?" I said, "Yeah, moved in about 3 weeks ago." Face changed. "That house has been empty for years," she said. "Since the boy disappeared." I didn't know what to say. I went back inside. Later that night, I opened the hidden door again. I shouldn't have. The small room was colder than before. The bed hadn't moved. The chair hadn't moved. But something was different. There were new drawings on the wall. They weren't there before. I know they weren't. Same black stick figures. But now, one of them looked like me. Same hair, same hoodie. And it wasn't standing in a closet this time. It was sitting on the bed. There was something written next to it, scratched into the wall. 1 in, 1 out. I backed out of the room and tried to close the door, but it wouldn't latch. Anymore, I shoved it hard, still open, like it didn't want to close that night. I sat in bed with all the lights on. From the corner of my eye, I saw something move near the closet. I turned fast. Nothing. A few minutes later, movement again. Every time I looked straight at it, there was nothing, but I felt it. Like someone was standing just out of sight. Not hiding, just waiting. I whispered, "What do you want?" No answer, but I already knew. I wasn't alone anymore. And maybe I never was. I don't have much time. I just wanted to say something before I go. I've been thinking about the room, the door, the drawings, all of it. I think I get it now. It wasn't hidden to keep people out. It was hidden because it was waiting for someone to find it. Waiting for me, there's a rule. It was in the journal. I didn't understand it at first, but now I do. Someone has to stay. That's what it said. The boy Danny, he was trapped in that room. He couldn't leave. Not until someone else stepped inside. That's why the door was unlocked. That's why he wrote thank. I let him out, and now it's my turn. I can't sleep. I can't eat. I can't breathe in this house anymore. Something is always behind me. Watching, waiting. The drawings keep changing. Last night, the stick figure that looked like me was smiling. Its eyes weren't black anymore, just empty. I heard my own voice coming from the closet. It said, "Go back in." So, I am. I'm taking the journal with me. I'm sitting on the bed now. The door behind me just closed on its own. It made a soft click. I didn't touch it. I think it's locked. I don't know what happens next. Maybe someone will find this. Maybe you'll hear me. But if you ever find a door behind your closet, don't open it, please. Open it. A long pause. Then, in a soft child's voice, "I can leave now." Silence.